Chapter 2009. Ling Xiao could feel that Lei Xuanji's aura had soared to the peak of the Great Sage realm after he exposed his demon clan's bloodline. However, as the phantom demonic ancient tree's aura continued to surge into his body, he had broken through the limit of the Great Sage realm and reached the Saint King realm. The battle between Lei Xuanji and white-clothed war god was equivalent to a battle between two Saint King realm experts. Does this illusory demonic ancient tree have such terrifying power? It forcibly raised Lei Xuanji's battle strength to the Saint King realm, and it's still rising. If this continues, I'm afraid the consequences will not be good. Ling Xiao thought secretly in his heart. At this moment, a mysterious voice came into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. Young martial uncle, your textless heavenly book is the nemesis of the illusory demonic ancient tree. Later, I will find a way to send you into the illusory demonic ancient tree. You can use the textless heavenly book to devour the illusory demonic ancient tree, and give you this opportunity. Do you want it? Lord War God? Lei Xuanji really deserves to die. Since Lord War God is so kind, I will not be polite. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he secretly said in his heart. Lu Bai knew the textless heavenly book very well. He knew that the textless heavenly book was the nemesis of the illusory demonic ancient tree. It was indeed a good opportunity for Ling Xiao. After all, with Lu Bai restraining Lei Xuanji, Ling Xiao could easily devour the power of the illusory demonic ancient tree. However, without the white-clothed war god's restraint, even if the textless heavenly book was the nemesis of the illusory demonic ancient tree, Ling Xiao dared not act rashly. Otherwise, he might be killed by Lei Xuanji and the illusory demonic ancient tree. Ling Xiao could see that the illusory demonic ancient tree was very powerful. If he could devour it completely, the textless heavenly book would be able to have a full meal. Very good. You better be careful later. White-clothed war god nodded. Rumble. The battle between Lei Xuanji and white-clothed war god was extremely fierce. Both of them had reached the ninth heaven, and were hundreds of thousands of feet away from the war god temple below. However, the violent fluctuations still made many disciples below tremble, and their faces were extremely pale. Whoosh! At this moment, Ling Xiao silently rose into the air, and used the sky-shrouding secret technique to fly towards the phantom fiend ancient tree. Lei Xuanji's aura became more and more terrifying. The black scales on his body became harder and sharper. In the end, even the sword qi of the white-clothed war god could not penetrate it. Vaguely, the white-clothed war god seems to have fallen into a disadvantage. Lu Bai, go to hell. Lei Xuanji laughed crazily. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He stretched out his hand and aimed at white-clothed war god's chest. Lei Xuanji's attack was as fast as lightning, but the white-clothed war god acted as if he didn't hear it. He didn't pay attention to Lei Xuanji's palm at all. Instead, he stabbed his sword towards the illusory devil ancient tree. Sizzle. White-clothed war god's sword light was terrifying, containing the power to penetrate everything. In an instant, above the trunk of the illusory demon ancient tree, a big black hole was pierced directly through the trunk of the illusory demon ancient tree. Black devil chi surged. The trunk of the illusory demon ancient tree was twisting, and the seemingly big hole began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. But what Lei Xuanji did not notice was that a figure hidden in the void had quietly entered the illusory demon ancient tree. Kacha. White-clothed war god's figure was pierced by Lei Xuanji, and instantly collapsed in the void. However, it was not the real body of white-clothed war god, but just an afterimage. You're courting death. Lei Xuanji's eyes were cold. He was aware that white-clothed war god had moved to a place 10,000 feet away. In an instant he took a step forward. The devil chi around his body was monstrous. The huge devil palm struck towards white-clothed war god. At this moment, Ling Xiao had entered the heart of the illusory demon ancient tree. White-clothed war god's sword just now was to attract Lei Xuanji's attention. He used himself as bait to create a condition for Ling Xiao to enter the illusory demon ancient tree. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the heart of the illusory demon ancient tree. He felt that the illusory demon ancient tree contained an incomparably majestic energy, far more than any illusory demon ancient tree he had seen before. The illusory demon ancient tree seemed to be aware of Ling Xiao's existence. It began to twist uneasily, and a black devil light pierced through it, as if it wanted to pierce Ling Xiao into a hedgehog. Wordless heavenly book, devour to your heart's content. Ling Xiao could feel that the wordless heavenly book in his sea of consciousness was trembling with excitement, as if it had encountered a supreme delicacy. It could not wait to rush out of the sea of consciousness and devour the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree. Ling Xiao no longer tried to stop the wordless heavenly book. Instead, he summoned it. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. The wordless heavenly book was dazzling, emitting a mysterious nine-colored divine light. It turned into a huge nine-colored vortex in the void, as if it contained the vast power of heaven and earth. It began to devour the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree crazily. Ling Xiao also activated the sky-devouring secret skill, the sky-devouring sword, the flipping sky seal, and all the treasures in his body at the same time. Even the Thunder Spirit King and the sleeping Holy Lady of the Netherworld clan were startled, and began to extract the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree. Crack! Ling Xiao was surrounded by lightning, devil light, and chaotic fog. It was as if heaven and earth had been opened. An incomparably strange scene appeared. He exuded an immortal and eternal aura. The wordless heavenly book floated above his head, and began to devour the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree crazily. His aura began to soar violently. Rumble. Although the illusory demonic ancient tree did not have spiritual intelligence, it had strong vitality and instincts. Now that it felt threatened, it immediately began to twist wildly. Huge tentacles like pythons swept across the sky. At the same time, a majestic demonic chi surged and turned into bolts of lightning, striking toward Ling Tian. The black devil light contained the power to corrode everything. It wanted to completely refine Ling Xiao and the wordless heavenly book, and make them part of its own nourishment. If it were an ordinary person, or even a super expert at the Saint Realm, under such a terrifying counterattack, he would have been turned into a pool of blood in an instant and devoured and absorbed by the illusory demon ancient tree. However, Ling Xiao, who was protected by the wordless heavenly book, was not affected at all. No matter how strong the attack was, when it hit Ling Xiao and the wordless heavenly book, it was devoured by the nine-colored vortex formed by the wordless heavenly book, and completely turned into nourishment. What? Who is stealing the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree? Lei Xuanji, who was fighting with the white-clothed war god, suddenly trembled. His eyes were filled with horror. Chapter 2010. The illusory demonic ancient tree was connected to Lei Xuanji's heart. He had paid a great price to plant the illusory demonic ancient tree in Thunder Mountain. His current cultivation was comparable to the Saint King realm, because he had activated the power of the illusory demonic ancient tree. However, Lei Xuanji's cultivation was still at the peak of the Saint realm. Originally, Lei Xuanji had planned to capture Ling Xiao and obtain the supreme treasure from Hua Yan and the heavenly curse sex saintess to raise his cultivation to the great saint realm. That way, his cultivation would be able to withstand the power of the illusory demonic ancient tree. After devouring the illusory demonic ancient tree, he would be able to reach the Saint King realm permanently. However, he could not believe that he could not defeat Ling Xiao with his cultivation at the peak of the Saint realm. In the end, Lu Bai had to make a move. One wrong move led to many wrong moves. But now, he had forcefully devoured the power of the illusory demon tree, and erupted with the battle prowess of a peak Saint King. Just as he was about to suppress Lu Bai, he suddenly sensed that the power of the illusory demon tree was fading rapidly, as if it was being devoured by some strange existence. What is that? Lei Xuanji's body trembled as he saw a figure surrounded by chaotic chi sitting cross-legged in the depths of the phantom fiend ancient tree. The figure was emitting nine-colored divine light, like a bottomless pit that was devouring the energy of the phantom fiend ancient tree. Although he could not see the face, Lei Xuanji immediately understood after sensing the aura. Long Outyin, you are courting death. Lei Xuanji's face instantly became extremely cold. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. He gave up the battle with the white-clothed war god, and turned to attack Ling Xiao in the illusory demonic ancient tree. Lei Xuanji, where do you think you are going? The white-clothed war god's eyes were indifferent. Naturally, he would not let Lei Xuanji escape. The bright sword light in his palm flashed, and turned into a sword qi that was tens of thousands of feet long. It slashed toward Lei Xuanji. The sword light was vast and mighty, like the first sword energy at the beginning of the world, separating the heaven and earth. Lei Xuanji and the illusion devil ancient tree seemed to be separated by millions of miles in an instant. Endless destructive sword energy wrapped around Lei Xuanji. Lu Bai, you didn't use your full strength? Lei Xuanji roared in disbelief. However, his body had already been annihilated by the endless sword qi. Those sword lights seemed to have spirituality as they transformed into various mysterious shapes. Moreover, they were incomparably sharp. They slashed on Lei Xuanji's body and instantly broke through layers of devil qi and Saint Gang's devil scales, piercing into his body. Puff, puff, puff. Streaks of blood-red light bloomed. The black blood-red light looked very strange and evil. However, Lei Xuanji's vital points were pierced by the sword qi. The sword qi converged into a torrent of sword qi that surged towards his limbs and bones. The sword qi was extremely terrifying and difficult to refine. It actually cut off the power of the illusory demon ancient tree in his body, trying to strip him away. Lei Xuanji was completely terrified. His eyes were filled with horror. He originally thought that he was about to suppress the white-clothed war god, but now he suddenly discovered that the white-clothed war god did not use his full strength at all. The sword that broke out at this moment was more than 10 times stronger than before. One sword had seriously injured him. The most important thing was that the source of his power was the illusory demon ancient tree. If it was stripped away, the power in his body would recede, and he would only be left with the cultivation of the saint realm. How could he be the white-clothed war god's opponent? He was afraid that he could be killed with a wave of his hand. Rumble. In the illusory demon ancient tree, Ling Xiao was crazily devouring the power of the illusory demon ancient tree. His cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th revolution half-saint realm. At this moment, under the nourishment of the majestic energy of the illusory demon ancient tree, even if 99% of the energy was devoured by the wordless heavenly book, it was enough for him to make a breakthrough. Kacha. Blazing light shone around him. Strands of tribulation chi rose, causing his body to slowly shatter. An aura of nirvanic rebirth bloomed. The 7th nirvana tribulation came. Under the stimulation of the endless majestic energy of the illusory demon ancient tree, Ling Xiao felt the opportunity to make a breakthrough. Without the slightest suppression, he directly stimulated the 7th nirvana tribulation and began to cross the nirvana tribulation in the heart of the illusory demon ancient tree. Rumble. The void trembled, the tribulation chi lingered, and the lightning was blazing. Ling Xiao's body began to break apart and began to transform into a mysterious state of flowing life and death. However, more and more pure energy poured into his body, making him cross the 7th nirvana tribulation extremely fast. Just a moment later, his body was reorganized. A vast and unparalleled breath gushed out, allowing him to directly cross the 7th nirvana tribulation and officially reach the 7th revolution half-saint realm. After Ling Xiao's cultivation broke through, the energy of the illusory demon ancient tree was being devoured faster and faster. With the wordless heavenly book, the illusory demon ancient tree was extremely powerful. However, at this moment, it was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. It could only struggle and resist, and the power of resistance was getting weaker and weaker. Lei Xuanji felt the power of the illusory demon ancient tree was rapidly draining, causing his breath to begin to fall. His heart was full of panic, anger, and unwillingness. No. I am not reconciled. The devil's way will prosper forever. Heaven and earth great compassion fist, break for me. Break. Break. Lei Xuanji roared furiously. Suddenly, the devil light around his body became more and more dazzling. A black blood light emerged from his body like a black dragon, and turned into an ancient symbol in the void. Endless darkness gushed out, as if it wanted to pull the entire world into the endless darkness. Lei Xuanji punched out. The fist print was unparalleled, containing the invincible power to destroy everything. Crack. The sword light in the sky suddenly shattered, and even the sword chi that was raging in his body was shattered at the same time. The black fist print blasted toward the white-clothed war god. Heaven and earth great compassion fist. You are really relying on the Bo clan's Demon Emperor clan. The expression of the white-clothed war god was also a little dignified. There was a blazing light gushing out from his body, as if infinite light illuminated this side of the world. The mysterious runes of the great path bloomed, making his breath ancient and mysterious. He pinched a fist print in his hand and struck across the sky, facing Lei Xuanji. It was as if an ancient seal had appeared in the void. Endless chaotic light bloomed, suppressing the myriad of worlds. It contained an indestructible and invincible battle intent. It was as if it wanted to pierce through the 3,000 worlds and break through the endless sky. Is that the sky battling seal? The war god, with his supreme cultivation, evolved the sky battling seal, the extreme way emperor weapon of the war god temple. This martial art is simply the supreme imperial scripture. Chapter 2011. Although the sky battling seal was the supreme emperor weapon of the war god temple, it could not be used easily. At this moment, the white-clothed war god had used his supreme divine ability to transform the sky battling seal into a peerless attack. The collision of infinite darkness and infinite light, the confrontation between the heaven and earth great compassion fist and the sky battling seal, the confrontation between the devil and the deity, the sublimation of two supreme powers. Rumble. Everyone saw that the endless darkness and the boundless light collided in the sky. Then, an incomparably terrifying torrent burst out, piercing through the sky. The turbulence of the void raged as if it wanted to devour the sun above the 9 heavens. Everyone felt that their ears had lost their voices. Everything was white in front of them. It was as if they could not hear or see anything clearly. Who won? Everyone widened their eyes, waiting for the result of the battle nervously. Crack. In the void, 2 figures suddenly flew out. Lei Xuanji and the white-clothed war god flew back at the same time. However, the white-clothed war god's clothes were fluttering in the wind. His expression did not change at all, but his eyes became sharper. Lei Xuanji, on the other hand, looked extremely miserable. Large areas of his demonic scales were broken and blood was everywhere. Even half of the horn on his head was broken. Lu Bai, are you sure you want to perish together with me? Lei Xuanji roared. His eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. Perish together? Unfortunately, you won't have the chance. The white-clothed war god said lightly. His voice fell into Lei Xuanji's ears like a lullaby, causing his expression to change drastically. Crack. At this moment, the illusory demonic ancient tree that was rooted in the Thunder Mountain suddenly emitted a crisp sound. The towering trunk of the illusory demonic ancient tree broke from the middle. Infinite demonic light gushed out, and the huge tentacles were shattered. The illusory demonic ancient tree collapsed like an immemorial divine mountain. The terrifying aura caused the surrounding void to tremble violently. At the most central position, a 9-colored divine light gushed out, and turned into a terrifying devouring vortex. It was like a sun blooming with infinite light, devouring the remaining power of the illusory demonic ancient tree. What? What is that? Who destroyed the illusion fiend ancient tree? Everyone was stunned. Even their minds stopped working. The scene before their eyes was too surreal. They couldn't believe that the ferocious illusory demon ancient tree had been destroyed just like that. The 9-colored divine light was too dazzling. One could vaguely see a figure within it, but no one could recognize who it was. Wang. The moment the illusory demonic ancient tree was destroyed, the void trembled slightly. The 9-colored divine light wrapped around the figure, and instantly disappeared before everyone's eyes. Ling Xiao silently put away the wordless heavenly book. Then, using the heaven-shrouding secret technique and the teleportation secret technique, he disappeared from the sky above Thunder Mountain, cutting off all divine senses that could detect him. Long Outyan, you and I are irreconcilable enemies. Lei Xuanji let out a miserable roar. The demonic light around him quickly dissipated, and his aura rapidly weakened. Soon he fell from his previous state, and returned to the peak of the Saint Realm. What? Could it be that the destruction of the illusion fiend ancient tree has something to do with Martial Uncle Long? That's impossible. Although Martial Uncle Long's combat strength is heaven-defying, he's only a half-saint. How could he participate in such a shocking battle? It's indeed impossible. But what does Lei Xuanji mean? When everyone heard Lei Xuanji's roar, they were all shocked. However, when they looked in Ling Xiao's direction, they found that Ling Xiao was standing in the middle of Lu Wenzheng, Chonghe, and Chongxiu. He was being protected tightly. When he realized that everyone was looking at him, Ling Xiao's face revealed a trace of innocence. His eyes also revealed a trace of doubt, causing everyone to be even more confused. Junior brother, you took too much of a risk just now. Even with the protection of Lord God of War, if someone finds out about the wordless heavenly book in your body, I'm afraid even the War God Temple won't be able to protect you. Lu Wenzheng transmitted his voice in annoyance. How could he not know that Ling Xiao had left secretly? It was just that he, Chonghe, and Chongsu had done something to cover for Ling Xiao. Thus, no one noticed when Ling Xiao had left. Senior brother, don't worry. As the saying goes, wealth comes from danger. As a cultivator, how could I care about such a little risk? Didn't you see that I've made a breakthrough in my cultivation? Ling Xiao smiled and exuded a little bit of his aura. 7 Revolution half-saint? Good. Ha ha ha. I didn't expect junior brother's talent to be so heaven-defying. If this goes on, you won't be far from becoming a saint. Chonghe and Chongsu's eyes lit up as they spoke excitedly. Ling Xiao had indeed gained a lot this time. The most important thing was that after the wordless heavenly book devoured the illusion fiend ancient tree, it was filled with energy again, and was about to manifest a secret skill. Moreover, Ling Xiao's flipping sky seal, sky-swallowing sword, Thunder Spirit King, and Holy Lady of Nether Tribe had all gained great benefits. It was imaginable that after they refined the energy, they would give Ling Xiao a big surprise. Boom. Above the void, an earth-shattering palm print came across the sky, trying to completely suppress Lei Xuanji. It contained a kind of power fluctuation that could destroy all vitality. The white-clothed war god looked indifferent, but his attack was extremely fierce. Ancestor, save me. Lei Xuanji's eyes were full of horror. Suddenly, he roared to the sky and spat out an extremely obscure syllable. It turned out to be the oldest language of the devil tribe. After the illusion fiend ancient tree was devoured by Ling Xiao, Lei Xuanji lost all his reliance. His cultivation had completely fallen to the saint realm. He was no match for the white-clothed war god. At this moment, he felt the threat of death and could not help but roar. However, what made Lei Xuanji incredulous was that after he called for help, there was no movement at all. The figure he imagined did not come as expected. Lei Xuanji had a bad feeling in his heart. Boom. The white-clothed war god's palm hit Lei Xuanji's body. He did not kill him completely, but confined his cultivation and then lifted him up. You mean Ancestor Lei Bo? It's a pity that he didn't want to be an ancestor. Instead, he turned to the devil tribe. He has left before you. I'll send you to see him now. Chapter 2012. How is that possible? How can you deal with the ancestor? I don't believe it. You must be lying to me. Ancestor, come out. Lei Xuanji roared, his eyes full of disbelief. Ancestor Lei Bo was the ancestor of the Thunder Hall. It was said that he was a living fossil who had lived for millions of years. His cultivation had reached the Saint King realm. His cultivation was unfathomable, and he was Lei Xuanji's biggest reliance. Ancestor Lei Bo had also given up the bloodline of the human tribe and joined the devil tribe. He was also Lei Xuanji's guide. The reason why Lei Xuanji dared to be so arrogant was because of Ancestor Lei Bo. But now the white-clothed war god told him that Ancestor Lei Bo was dead, which immediately cut off all his hope. Boom. Lei Xuanji was lifted up by the neck by the white-clothed war god. His face was as red as a pig's liver, and his whole body was trembling violently. There was no resistance at all. The Ancestor Lei Bo he imagined did not appear at all. Lei Xuanji was completely desperate. I don't want to. How did you do it? Lei Xuanji stared at the white-clothed war god, and said unwillingly. Black devil qi overflowed from his body. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt, and his aura was extremely violent. Do you want to know how I did it? Then go down and ask Ancestor Lei Bo. The white-clothed war god said lightly, as if he did not care about Lei Xuanji's intention to die together with him. Boom. There was a blazing flame rising from his palm, like the fire of the Great Way, containing the mysterious power of the origin. In an instant, it enveloped Lei Xuanji. The flame burned fiercely, and Lei Xuanji became a man of fire in an instant. Although he screamed and struggled violently, there was no way for him to escape from the flame. In the end, Lei Xuanji was completely burned into ashes, drifting away with the wind. Even his spirit could not escape. His soul was scattered and he died. The white-clothed war god stood in the air, looking indifferent and calm, as if there was no fluctuation at all. But the Thunder Hall Master, a powerful saint, was burned to death. Everyone was extremely shocked. Zhang Tianqing had already started to tremble all over. His eyes were filled with terror. However, after Lei Xuanji's death, it seemed that he had lost control of some kind of power inside his body. Including Lei Qianjue and the other core disciples of the Thunder Hall, black demon qi gushed out from their bodies. Their faces instantly turned hideous and terrifying. Not good. They are the same as Lei Xuanji, completely possessed by the devil. A disciple from the War God Hall exclaimed. Immediately, everyone avoided him like he was a snake or a scorpion. They retreated as their eyes were filled with incomparable shock. Whoosh! 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 The white-robed war god flicked his finger, and suddenly, a series of blazing fireballs flew across the sky and landed accurately on Zhang Tianqing, Lei Qianjue, and the others, burning them to ashes. In the entire Thunder Hall, many true disciples had been secretly turned into spies of the Devil Clan by Lei Xuanji, who had planted devil seeds and bloodlines in them. Now that Lei Xuanji had been killed, the devil seeds and bloodlines in their bodies had gone out of control. However, before they could launch an attack, they had all been caught by the white-clothed war god. From today on, I'm afraid that the Thunder Hall will completely decline. It will not even be as strong as the War Hall in the past. Someone thought to himself. From ancestor Lei Bo to Lei Xuanji, Lei Qianjue, Zhang Tianqing and the others, they were all killed. The high-end combat forces and seeds of the Thunder Hall were all wiped out. Only a few big cats were left. Although everyone respected the white-robed war god's determination, the War God Hall also suffered a great loss. They were afraid that they would have to face a more dangerous situation in the future. Lei Xuanji's talent is superb. He is at least a Saint King. Why did he choose to join the demon race? I'm afraid that the War God Hall will be in a precarious situation again. Lu Wenjing also sighed softly. Although Lei Xuanji's death was a joyous matter, Lu Wenjing's heart was filled with hatred for his misfortune and anger for his failure to fight. That's right. If the Thunder Hall wants to recover, I'm afraid that even 10,000 years won't be enough. Pierce Void also said slowly, Senior brother, you're wrong. Lord War God decisively took action and eliminated the malignant tumor, Lei Xuanji. Although the War God Hall suffered a great loss in the short term, it will make the War God Hall more united in the long run. After all, if we keep these demon race alive, sooner or later, something big will happen. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Perhaps you're right. However, the divine world is in turmoil now. The demon race will appear from time to time. Seeing that the great calamity is about to arrive, I'm afraid that it won't be a good thing for the War God Hall. We can only work hard and prepare ourselves to face the various challenges that will come next. Chong He said with a sigh. Senior brothers, do you know why the War God Hall has fallen to such a state? Ling Xiao looked at Lu Wenjing and the other two and said seriously. Then, without waiting for them to answer, he continued. It's because the disciples of the War God Hall have lost an unyielding heart. It's because we are no longer united and only know how to fight among ourselves. It's because we have lost the spirit of the ancient War God Hall. For the past 1 million years, the War God Hall has been going downhill. Although it's related to Lei Xuanji and Lei Bo who surrendered to the demon race, it's more because of our own problems. But now, I can see that those disciples of the War God Palace are gradually becoming one. Their sense of identity and unity towards the War God Palace is growing. Killing Lei Xuanji and Lei Bo is indeed to clear out the remaining evil demons, but more importantly, it is to turn the War God Palace into an iron plate and rebuild an invincible heart that can fight against the world. Ling Zhao's voice was incomparably clear. He didn't deliberately lower his voice. His voice reverberated in the sky above the War God Hall, and entered the ears of every disciple. Many disciples and elders of the War God Hall were stunned for a moment. Then, they showed an incomparable expression of agreement. Martial Uncle Long is right. Martial Uncle Long is mighty. If our War God Hall can find an unyielding heart, why should we worry about not being able to conquer the world and dominate the heavens? I, Old Hay, have never admired anyone in my life. From today onwards, I will only admire Martial Uncle Long. Many elders and disciples said excitedly. Their eyes were filled with fanaticism as they looked at Ling Xiao. Rumble. The void trembled violently. Ling Xiao seemed to see the blood qi of the disciples of the War God Hall slowly converging, as if it was about to turn into a vast torrent. The War God Hall's fortune actually began to skyrocket. It was like a blazing sun, blooming with boundless light. One sentence can increase the fortune of the entire sect. How is this possible? Chapter 2013. Every living being had their own destiny. According to the legends, destiny was determined by the heavenly Tao. Everyone had their own destiny, and it was not something that could be resisted by humans. Although cultivators were known to go against the will of the heavens, it was just a slogan to inspire people, because the heavens could not be defied. The destiny of a sect was also called luck, but the luck of a sect was changing all the time. When a sect was weak, its luck would be weak. When a sect was strong, its luck would be strong. The two complemented each other. If a sect's luck was heaven-defying, even if it was only a small sect, it could continue to grow stronger. It was not impossible for it to even reach the level of the 12 immortal Holy Lands. The 12 immortal Holy Lands represented the strongest forces in the divine realm. Their luck had reached its peak, and it was extremely difficult to improve it. However, Hua Yan and the Saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect saw that because of Ling Zhao's words, many elders and disciples of the War God Temple seemed to have been injected with chicken blood, and the luck of the entire War God Temple had skyrocketed. Even if there was a Saint King realm expert in the 12 immortal Holy Lands, it was impossible to increase their luck so much, which made them more curious about Ling Xiao. Well said, young martial uncle, I was right about you. The white-clothed war god did not hide the admiration in his eyes and praised. As a Saint King realm expert, he naturally noticed the skyrocketing luck of the War God Temple, which made the idea in his heart stronger. Lord War God, what I said is from the bottom of my heart. If the War God Temple wants to be strong, we have to rely on ourselves. Ling Xiao said seriously. We will discuss the problem you mentioned later. How do you want to deal with these two people? The white-clothed war god smiled indifferently, and his eyes fell on Hua Yan and the Saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect. Speaking of which, today's incident was caused by the Heavenly Curse sect and the Chinese. If they did not want to get information about Ji Feishuan from Ling Xiao, and even covet Ling Xiao, there would not be today's battle. The Heavenly Curse sect and the Chinese bullied the War God Temple, so they dared to come together to denounce them. Yang Wen and Hua Tianxiong even injured the two holy sons, Gao Yang and Wu Xiong. Now, Hua Yan and the Saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect had been captured by Lu Wenzheng, and even Yang Wen and Hua Tianxiong had become prisoners. The white-clothed war god asked Ling Xiao how to deal with them, as if their life and death was in Ling Xiao. Yang Wen and Hua Tianxiong's expressions, and their eyes were full of anxiety. Hua Yan's eyes turned cold as he said coldly, Lu Bai, you'd better think carefully. We don't mind dying, but are you sure you want to start a war with the Chinese and the Heavenly Curse sect? That's right. The Saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect softened her tone. The two of them, one playing the good cop, the other playing the bad cop, their eyes fell on the white-clothed war god and Ling Xiao at the same time, with a bit of threat. They were not worried about their own safety at all. After all, both the Chinese and the Heavenly Curse sect were stronger than the War God Temple. They believed that the War God Temple would not kill them at the risk of offending both the Chinese and the Heavenly Curse sect. The white-clothed war god looked indifferent, as if he did not take Hua Yan and the Saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect seriously at all. He just looked at Ling Xiao with interest, waiting for Ling Xiao to give him an answer. What a joke! How can you represent the Chinese and the Heavenly Curse sect? You colluded with Lei Xuanca, a demon remnant. I have reason to believe that you're also a demon remnant. Even if I kill you, would Hua clan and Heavenly Curse sect dare to attack our war god palace at the risk of universal condemnation? Ling Xiao sneered, with blazing killing intent in his eyes. His qi and blood surged, and his killing intent spread out. He did not try to hide it as he locked onto Hua Yan, and the saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect. The flipping sky seal floated in the void, containing an ancient and vast power fluctuation. It seemed that it would kill Hua Yan and the saintess of the Heavenly Curse sect at any time. Long out Yin, don't slander us. We don't know that Lei Xuanji is a demon. Don't try to frame us. Hua Yan roared. His eyes seemed to be able to spit fire. If what Ling Xiao said was true, they would not be able to rest in peace if Ling Xiao gave them the names of the remnants of the demon race after killing them. Slander us? Hehe, if you are not a demon and did not collude with Lei Xuanji, why did he spare no effort to help you? He did not hesitate to fight against the war god to help you catch me. How do you explain this? Ling Xiao sneered. You're talking nonsense. We didn't collude with Lei Xuanji at all. The reason why he did his best to help us capture you is because we promised to give him a treasure. That treasure is very important to him. That's why he went all out. Hua Yan was so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. However, in order to not be labeled as a demon, he had to tell Lei Xuanji about his deal with him. Anyway, Lei Xuanji was already dead. It could be said that the dead told no tales. What kind of treasure would make Lei Xuanji throw away his life? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed, and he pretended to be disdainful. It's the seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree. Although Hua Yan was extremely unwilling in his heart, he had no choice but to admit it now. What? The seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree? After hearing Hua Yan's words, Ling Xiao could not help but tremble. Although he still maintained a calm expression, his heart was in turmoil. The heavenly Dao Thunder Tribulation Tea was a cup of tea that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had once given to Ling Xiao. It allowed Ling Xiao to possess unparalleled physical strength. In the end, he even broke through the barrier between man and God with his physical body, becoming a god with his physical body. Hearing about the seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree, Ling Xiao instantly thought of the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Could it be that the seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree was related to the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain? Ling Xiao thought in his heart. Since he entered the divine realm, he had not received any news about the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. However, he was sure that the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain must have come to the divine realm. The seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree? If it's a complete seed, it's indeed worth Lei Xuanji's effort. With the seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree as a guide, not only can he break through to the Great Saint Realm, but he can also nurture a complete Dao fruit, turning it into his own Dao tree, and attain the Saint King Realm. Where did you get the seed of the heavenly Dao Thunder Tea Tree? The white-clothed war god nodded, and there was a trace of inexplicable expression in his eyes. Chapter 2014. The seed of the heavenly Law Thunder Tea Tree is a treasure of the Chinese. Although it's precious to you, it's nothing to the Chinese. Hua Yan said with a proud smile. The Chinese were the descendants of the 9 emperors. They had been living in seclusion for countless years. Although they did not show up, they had many treasures that had been lost in the antiquity times. The heavenly Law Thunder Tribulation Tea Tree was a natural spiritual root, which was on the same level as the Path Understanding Tree and the Immortal Peach Tree. There might even be natural spiritual roots among the Chinese, not to mention the seed of the heavenly Law Thunder Tribulation Tea Tree. If it's the seed of the heavenly Law Thunder Tea Tree, maybe Lei Xuanji will attack at all costs. But who knows if you're telling the truth? Show me the seed of the heavenly Law Thunder Tea Tree. Ling Xiao said lightly. Hua Yan immediately reacted. He was so angry that his body trembled. He glared at Ling Xiao and said, You're robbing us. The seed of the heavenly Law Thunder Tea Tree is a treasure of the Chinese. Don't even think about it. He finally understood why Ling Xiao had been so insistent that he and the saintess of the heavenly curse sect were demons. It turned out that he was waiting for him here. Although the seed of the Thunder Tribulation Tea Tree was nothing to the Chinese, it was a supreme treasure that ordinary sages could only dream of. It might even breed a primordial spiritual root. The innate spiritual root was a supreme treasure that was comparable to an ultimate emperor weapon. It could suppress the fate of an immortal sanctuary, and was the guarantee of a sanctuary's prosperity. That's right, I'm robbing you. Huayan, do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Believe it or not, after I kill you, I can completely disguise you as a demon. By then, even Hua people would not dare to say anything about it. Ling Xiao said with a cold smile. His eyes were sharp and his voice was cold and domineering. Long Outyan, you're too arrogant. We're not demons. We have nothing to do with Lei Xuanji. Do you really want to fall out with the Chinese? Huayan was so angry that he was trembling. His eyes were full of anger. Fall out. When you attacked me, you had already shed all pretense of cordiality. Old man, don't be so shameless. The heavenly law lightning tribulation tea tree seed is your life's price. Either hand it over or die. Ling Xiao said coldly. When Ling Xiao heard about the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree seed, he had already made up his mind. He had to get his hands on the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree's seed no matter what. As for Huayan's threat, he didn't take it to heart. After this incident, even if the War God Temple respectfully sent Huayan and the saintess of the heavenly curse sect to the War God Temple, they would still find trouble with the War God Temple. Instead, they would think that the War God Temple was weak and easily bullied. Since that was the case, wasn't it a ruthless extortion? Ling Xiao knew that the white-clothed War God had given Huayan and the female sage of the heavenly curse sect to him. The War God Temple had not yet prepared for war with the Hua people and the heavenly curse sect, but he did not intend to let Huayan and the female sage of the heavenly curse sect go so easily. Even if he did not kill them, he would let them pay a sufficient price. Rumble. Translator. Transin editor. Transin the flipping sky seal emitted a black light and evil spirit. It rotated in the void and floated above Huayan's head, locking him. Ling Xiao's eyes were full of killing intent. It seemed that as long as Huayan dared to say no, the flipping sky seal would fall directly and kill him completely. Feeling the monstrous killing intent from the flipping sky seal above his head, Huayan suddenly felt cold all over, and his face turned red. He knew that Ling Xiao really wanted to kill him, or maybe he was just scaring him. However, he dared not gamble and did not dare to joke with his life. It was not easy for him to cultivate to the sage realm. Naturally, he was not willing to die like this. In comparison, it was better to hand over the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree's seed than to lose his life. Long Outyan. Here you are. Huayan gnashed his teeth and said. He took out a black stone box from his arms and threw it to Ling Xiao unwillingly. His heart was filled with incomparable pain and endless shame. His hatred for Ling Xiao had reached the extreme. He could not wait to crush Ling Xiao's bones and scatter his ashes. Ling Xiao took the stone box, removed the seal, and slowly opened it. Boom! It was as if a blazing lightning burst out. It was dazzling and contained an incomparably dangerous power. In the stone box, there was a walnut-sized seed. It was pitch black and had purple patterns on it. It looked like lightning and contained an incomparably mysterious thunderbolt power, causing the void to tremble slightly. This was the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree seed. Rumble! Above the void, blazing thunderclouds gathered as if they had sensed the aura of the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree's seed. The void shook violently and thunder dragons intertwined, as if they were about to fall at any time. Just a heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree's seed had such a terrifying aura. Ling Xiao was extremely emotional. That's right. It is indeed the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree seed. Your life is saved. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then he closed the stone box. Immediately, the lightning in the sky disappeared without a trace. Huayan did not speak, and simply turned his head to the side. He was afraid that if he continued to talk to Ling Xiao, he would be angered to death. I've already given you the heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree seed. Can you let us go now? The heavenly curse sect saintess said coldly. The heavenly Dao tribulation tea tree seed is just the price for Huayan's life. You and you, all of you have to take out treasures that are of equal value to redeem your lives. Ling Xiao smiled indifferently and kept the stone box. Then his gaze fell on the heavenly curse sect saintess, Yangwen and Hua Tianqiong. Long Outyin, you bastard. The heavenly curse sect's saintess's eyes turned cold. Her towering chest heaved up and down, showing that she was extremely restless. She was clenching her teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Long Outyin, don't be too greedy. The heavenly Tao Tribulation Tea Tree's seed is a rare treasure. Your war god temple shouldn't be too much of a bully. Hua Tianqiong also said angrily. Too much of a bully? Hee. Why didn't you say that when you were arrogant and despotic in my war god temple and injured Gao Yang and Wu Xiong? Why didn't you say that when you said that you wanted to capture me? Why didn't you say that when you colluded with Lei Xuanji and wantonly trampled on my war god temple's dignity? I'll leave my words here. If you don't pay a sufficient price today, none of you can leave the war god temple alive. My war god temple's disciples are not afraid of a battle. Chapter 2015. Marshal Uncle Long is right. If you don't pay the price, don't even think about leaving here alive. The dignity of the war god temple is not to be trifled with. Why should the disciples of the war god temple be afraid of a fight? Fight. 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 Many of the war god hall's disciples felt their blood boil after hearing Ling Zhao's words, and they also began to shout. Since when did the war god temple become so tough to the Chinese and the heavenly curse sect? The many disciples of the war god hall only knew that whenever they encountered trouble in the past, their seniors would always tell them to keep a low profile. Many disciples were even bitterly disappointed because of this, causing the many disciples of the war god hall to shrink back and worry even more. On the contrary, they were looked down upon by the disciples of the other holy lands, and were constantly bullied. Now the disciples of the war god temple saw with their own eyes that the saints of the Chinese and the heavenly curse sect were so submissive under Ling Zhao's coercion. They even had to take out treasures to redeem their lives. This was a huge blow to them. Their cold blood began to boil. Their soft bones began to harden. Their bent waists began to straighten like dragons, and their vanishing fighting spirit began to gather again. Their heads were raised high. Their mouths were shouting and roaring, but there were sparkling tears in their eyes. Those were tears of joy, indicating that they were returning to what they had lost. An unyielding heart began to awaken. Lu Wenzheng, Chonghe, Chongxiu, and the other elders of the war god temple were worried that Ling Xiao had offended Hua Yin and the female saint of the heavenly curse sect too much. However, they didn't say anything because this was the war god's intention. However, when they saw the disciples of the war god hall roar at the sky with surging battle intent, their surging vital energy seemed to have condensed into a flood, causing the sky to violently tremble. They were also so moved that they could not control themselves. Tears streamed down their faces. They seemed to see the rise of the war god temple. The scene in front of them made Hua Yin, the female saint of the heavenly curse sect, Hua Tianqiong, and Yang Wen's expressions changed drastically. Their expressions became extremely solemn. Damn it! How can he have such a strong charisma? If he doesn't die, he will definitely be a great enemy in the future. We must kill him at all costs. Hua Yin thought to himself. He exchanged a glance with the saintess of the heavenly curse sect, and saw the killing intent hidden in each other's eyes. At this moment, Ling Xiao was like the war spirit of the war god temple. As long as Ling Xiao was present, the members of the war god temple would be able to gather together, and the war god temple's peerless fighting spirit would be completely restored. Hua Yin and the saintess of the heavenly curse sect both felt extremely threatened. The threat was even stronger than that of a saint. Have you guys thought it through? Ling Xiao said indifferently. Good. Long Outyin, you win. This is a supreme purity god-slaying talisman, formed from my Tao fruit. Even a saint's primordial spirit would be severely injured if not killed. Can you let me leave now? The saintess of the heavenly curse sect was straightforward. She took out a green talisman that was covered in runes. It looked extraordinary. A Shangqing extermination immortal talisman? Not enough. At least 3. Ling Xiao said indifferently. The supreme purity god-slaying talisman was one of the supreme saint techniques of the heavenly curse sect. It was extremely powerful and strange. It directly affected the primordial spirit with the power of the curse, making it impossible to guard against. Even a saint would find it hard to resist. However, it was very difficult to condense a supreme purity god-slaying talisman. Not only did it require a high cultivation base, but it also required the consumption of the Tao fruit's primordial spirit. Ordinary people couldn't condense a supreme purity god-slaying talisman. Only disciples who valued the younger generation would be given one to protect themselves. The saintess of the heavenly curse sect was called Yuan Qing. Her cultivation base was at the peak of the saint realm. It would take her at least a few years to condense a supreme purity god-slaying talisman. Ling Xiao knew that this talisman was indeed very precious. 3? Alright, 3 then. But it has to include the 2 of them. Yuan Qing's eyes turned cold. Killing intent surged in her heart. She was extremely angry with Ling Xiao, but she still gritted her teeth and agreed. She then pointed at Hua Tianqiong and Yang Wen. She was afraid that Ling Xiao would ask for too much and blackmail Hua Tianqiong and Yang Wen. If you want to redeem their lives, add another 10,000 origin pills. Ling Xiao said indifferently. 10,000 origin pills? Long Outian you. Why don't you just rob us? Hua Tianqiong and Yang Wen's expressions changed drastically as they said angrily. The origin pill contained the primordial spirit of the great Tao. It was a supreme treasure condensed by the saint realm. The saint liquid was only a defective product of the origin pill. The energy it contained was less than 1/10,000th of the origin pill. 10,000 origin pills were enough for a saint realm expert to break through a small realm. Even an ordinary saint would find it difficult to take out so many origin pills. Hua Tianqiong and Yang Wen naturally resented Ling Xiao for asking for too much. All right. Needless to say, 10,000 origin pills, right? Here you go. Hua Yan's eyes flashed as he stopped Hua Tianqiong and Yang Wen. He had already handed over the heavenly Tao Thunder Tribulation Tea Tree Seed and the Supreme Purity God-Slaying Talisman. Hua Yan had already seen that Ling Xiao was a stubborn guy. He would only be humiliating himself if he continued. After all, their lives were in Ling Xiao's hands. Hua Yan straightforwardly took out a pill bottle and handed it to Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao poured out an origin pill the size of a longan fruit from the pill bottle. It radiated a resplendent light, and a Tao aura permeated the air. Energy fluctuations were incomparably powerful. It was a pure origin pill. Only then did he nod his head in satisfaction. Very good. Since you are so sincere in apologizing, the War God Temple will be magnanimous and not lower ourselves to your level. Get out of here. Ling Xiao said coldly. Lu Wenzheng, Chong He, and Chong Su immediately released the shackles on Hua Yan and Yuan Qing's cultivation after receiving Ling Xiao's signal. War God, Long Out Yin, the Hua race and the Heavenly Curse sect will never forget what the War God Temple has given us today. We will definitely repay you generously in the future. Goodbye. Hua Yan and Yuan Qing soared into the sky. The aura around them was incomparably majestic. They took a deep look at Lu Bai and Ling Xiao. After that, they did not dare to stay any longer. In an instant, they swept up Hua Tianqiong, Yang Wen, and the others and turned into a stream of light, disappearing into the sky. Little junior brother, it seems like the Hua race and the Heavenly Curse sect hate you to the core. Lu Wenzheng sighed softly. They don't have good intentions. Even if we humbly send them away, will they not bear a grudge against us? I'm afraid they will think that the War God Temple is weak and easily bullied. Ling Xiao looked at Hua Yan and Yuan Qing's backs and smiled faintly. Little martial uncle is right. If the Hua race and the Heavenly Curse sect have a problem with it, we will just deal with it as it comes. Little martial uncle, come with me. I have something to tell you. Chapter 2016. On the Yin Mountain. Mother, it's the War God Temple's fortune to have junior brother Long. Cheng Ying, who had witnessed the entire process, exclaimed. Her eyes were filled with joy. This battle was too dangerous as it involved a few sages and Lei Xuanke, the demon race's remnant. Cheng Ying's heart was in her throat several times, but the final result still made her extremely excited. That's right. Long Outyin has great luck, great opportunities, great wisdom, and great courage. With him, the War God Temple has hope of rising. Don't be impudent. According to seniority, you should call him Martial Granduncle Long. Yin Qingxian sighed, and then glared at Qingying in annoyance. Everyone has their own opinions. Anyway, the war god temple doesn't care about these formalities. Mother, you said that this was a test for Long Outyin by the war god. Is the war god really going to let Long Outyin inherit the position of the war god? Chungying chuckled and then asked doubtfully. That's right. Although the war god temple has Enai Wuxiong, and Gaoyang, the three holy princes, they are not as good as Long Outyin. Long Outyin is the best candidate. This is the only test that the war god has for Long Outyin. Now that he has passed, he is naturally the little war god of the war god temple, and the future war god supreme. Yin Qingxian nodded and said, Little war god? Indeed, no one is more suitable than him. However, even the war god has to call Long Outyin martial uncle. Now that Long Outyin has become the successor of the war god. Isn't this a little too messy? A strange look appeared in Chungying's eyes. This is not a problem. Now that the great tribulation of the epic is coming, not only the divine world, but I'm afraid all the other worlds will be involved in this catastrophe. The legendary heavenly selection meeting is about to begin. You should cultivate well during this period of time, and strive to break through to the 9th revolution half-saint realm. Only then will you have some strength to protect yourself during the heavenly selection meeting. Yin Qingxian looked at Chungying seriously. Mother, don't worry. I understand. Chungying nodded and said, Above the 9 sacred mountains, there was a vast sea of clouds. The clouds were steaming, the mist was dense, and the multicolored light shone brightly. It looked ethereal, peaceful, and very mysterious. Ling Xiao and the white-clothed war god came together above the sea of clouds. The bright sunlight shone around them, and dyed them pure gold. Crack! White-clothed war god waved his sleeves, and suddenly the sea of clouds in front of him slowly dispersed. In the endless clouds, there was a huge void passage, as if leading to an unknown world. Ling Xiao and the white-clothed war god turned into 2 rainbows and instantly shot into the void passage. Rumble! Bright light bloomed. Ling Xiao and the white-clothed war god suddenly appeared in a mysterious and ancient world. Mountain ranges rose and fell continuously. Mountains that were hundreds of thousands of feet tall rose from the ground. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and old vines coiled around them. Powerful roars of beasts could be heard from the mountains, emitting boundless blood qi and overflowing killing intent. This place was like a primordial world, ancient and mysterious. Lord War God, is this the core area of my War God Temple, the heaven-battling sacred realm? Ling Zhao's eyes showed a trace of surprise. The War God Temple's heaven-battling sacred realm was the core forbidden area of the War God Temple. In the War God Temple, only the 9 Hall Masters, the War God Supreme, and the old ancestor above the Saint Realm were qualified to enter. Even the Holy Sun could not enter without being summoned. As the master of the War God Temple, Ling Xiao was naturally qualified to enter the heaven-battling sacred realm, but he did not know why the white-clothed war god brought him here. That's right. This is the heaven-battling sacred realm. Young martial uncle, I know you have a lot of questions in your heart. You can ask me now. The white-clothed war god smiled indifferently. Lord War God, how do you know that Lei Xuanji and old ancestor Lei Bo are the remnants of the demon clan? Ling Xiao thought for a moment. He felt that today's events were too coincidental. In the beginning, Lei Xuanji, Hua Yan, and Yuan Qing forced him, but the other hall masters, Lu Bai, and the many saints and old ancestors of the War God Temple did not appear. Only Ling Xiao dealt with them, as if they were deliberately testing him. Later, when Lu Bai appeared, Lei Xuanji revealed his identity as the remnants of the demon clan, and summoned the illusory demon ancient tree to fight. Then Lu Bai sent Ling Xiao into the illusory demon ancient tree and swallowed it. Ling Xiao felt that there were too many coincidences. Ling Xiao had also heard of old ancestor Lei Bo. He was a living fossil that had lived for millions of years. 1,000,000 years ago, he was already a Saint King super expert. He was one of the pillars of the War God Temple. Such a character was a remnant of the demon clan, and he was discovered and killed by Lu Bai. The process was too thought-provoking. Ling Xiao did have a lot of doubts in his heart, and he wanted to get answers from Lu Bai. Lei Xuanji and old ancestor Lei Bo are remnants of the demon clan. In fact, I have known for a long time. They abandoned their human bloodline and turned into demons. Even the deaths of many elders and disciples of the War God Temple are related to them. However, their identities in the War God Temple are too important, so I can't act rashly. That's why I endured for so many years. For so many years, I have been thinking about how to get rid of Lei Xuanji and old ancestor Lei Bo, so I didn't pay much attention to the affairs of the sect. The disciples' fighting spirit was weak, and they didn't have enough confidence when they met the disciples of the other holy lands. I am indeed responsible for this. However, I always thought that this wasn't important. Lei Xuanji and old ancestor Lei Bo were the biggest tumors of the War God Temple. Until this time, when I broke through from the Great Saint Realm to the Saint King Realm, I took advantage of this opportunity to unite several old ancestors to kill old ancestor Lei Bo in one fell swoop, but I didn't expect that he would still be seriously injured and escape. Lu Bai's voice was very ethereal as he slowly recounted what had happened. It turned out that letting Lei Xuanji temporarily take over the position of War God was also a trap set by Lu Bai. He wanted Lei Xuanji to give himself away so that old ancestor Lei Bo would lower his guard. Taking advantage of the opportunity of breaking through to the Saint King Realm, Lu Bai and several old ancestors attacked together, wanting to kill old ancestor Lei Bo in one fell swoop. However, they didn't expect that old ancestor Lei Bo was not only powerful, but also extremely cunning. Seeing that he had fallen into the trap, he still managed to escape despite being seriously injured. Several old ancestors of the War God Temple chased after old ancestor Lei Bo, while Lu Bai used the excuse of coming out of seclusion to kill Lei Xuanji. Chapter 2017. I see. Ling Zhao's eyes glinted as he nodded his head and said. Ling Zhao knew very well that Lu Bai could have appeared earlier, but Lu Bai chose to appear after the battle between Ling Zhao and Lei Xuanji. This was probably a test for Ling Zhao. I'm sure you can see that I didn't make a move earlier because I wanted to test you. Not only did I test your battle strength, but I also tested your temperament and decisiveness. But from the results, your performance was perfect. Lu Bai seemed to know what Ling Zhao was thinking and smiled faintly. A test? Lord War God, do you not believe in my identity or my battle strength? Ling Zhao said slowly. Neither. I just wanted to see if you could take on a bigger burden. But now, it seems that among the millions of disciples of the War God Temple, I can't find anyone else who is as brave and intelligent as you. You have great luck and great wisdom. You are the little War God of the War God Temple, the successor of the War God position, the future War God Supreme. Lu Bai smiled faintly and did not hide the admiration in his eyes. Lu Bai didn't expect that Ling Zhao, a 6th Revolution half-saint, could fight a peerless saint like Lei Xuanji. After all, he only hoped that Ling Zhao could withstand a few more moves from Lei Xuanji. But from the results, Ling Zhao's performance was indeed a great surprise. Moreover, the mysterious power of time that Ling Zhao revealed at the end of the battle allowed Lu Bai to see the great fortune and opportunity on Ling Zhao. Such a person was the future War God Supreme of the War God Temple, who could lead the War God Temple to greatness and glory. Little War God? Lord War God's decision is a little too hasty, isn't it? Ling Zhao was slightly stunned and smiled bitterly. He naturally understood the meaning of the words, Little War God. It represented the true successor of the War God Temple, whose status was incomparably noble, far surpassing the true disciples, holy sons and holy daughters. Hasty? Do you think there is anyone in the War God Temple more suitable than you? Lu Bai smiled faintly. Although I don't want to take on the responsibility, I can only say that there is no one. Ling Zhao blinked and smiled faintly. Junior Marshal Uncle, I admire your confidence the most. That's right. No one in the entire War God Temple is more suitable than you. You are fully deserving of the title of Little War God. The reason I'm here today is to bring you to meet the ancestors. More importantly, you already have the qualifications to comprehend the heaven battling secret technique. Lu Bai said with a smile. Comprehend the heaven battling secret technique? Ling Zhao's eyes immediately lit up. He even automatically ignored the mention of meeting the ancestors, and focused all his attention on the heaven battling secret technique. Speaking of which, Although Ling Xiao had obtained the Karma Secret Skill and Destiny Secret Skill from the 12 Heavenly Arts, they were only fragments. He had not obtained the complete version. Although the Heaven Battling Secret Technique was only ranked 12th in the Heavenly Spirit Realm, it was still a genuine 12 Sky Arts. Ling Xiao had long been looking forward to it. Now that he heard Lu Bai asking him to comprehend the Heaven Battling Secret Technique, Ling Xiao was inexplicably excited. That's right. The Heaven Battling Secret Technique is the foundation of the War God Temple. Even the 9 supreme sacred techniques of the War God Temple are related to the Heaven Battling Secret Technique. Now that the Great Tribulation of the Era is about to arrive, the legendary Heavenly Chosen Convention is about to begin. Since you have comprehended the Heaven Battling Secret Technique, you will be able to compete with the geniuses and experts from all over the universe. I hope you will not tarnish the reputation of the War God Temple. It would be best if you could obtain the title of Heavenly Chosen One. Lu Bai stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were clear and bright as he looked into the distance. His voice contained some mysterious fluctuations. Rest assured, Lord War God. After the Heavenly Chosen Convention, I will be the next saint of the War God Temple. Ling Xiao said faintly as his body exuded a strong battle intent. Very good. Now follow me to meet the ancestors. Lu Bai said with a smile. Lord War God, I have a presumptuous request. Ling Xiao said hesitantly after thinking for a while. Oh, what is it? Lu Bai said. I'm very curious as to why Lord War God is concealing your appearance. Can you let me see your true appearance? Ling Xiao asked curiously. The reason I'm concealing my appearance is to avoid some trouble. Since you're curious, there's no harm in letting you see. Lu Bai said with a faint smile. Buzz. The void trembled slightly as Lu Bai's body emitted a bright light. The mist on his face slowly dissipated, revealing his true appearance. Ling Xiao's eyes widened in shock. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. How is this possible? Ling Xiao exclaimed. What appeared in front of him was a peerless face. Lu Bai was dressed in a white robe. He was tall and slender, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. His skin was as clear as jade, and his lips were thin. His nose was high, and his eyes were as bright as the stars, emitting a blazing light. He looked perfect, without a single flaw. It was as if he was favored by the Creator, giving him the best things in the world. Lu Bai stood there, naturally exuding an extraordinary temperament. He didn't seem like a person of this world. He was peerless. However, what made Ling Xiao feel strange was that this peerless Lu Bai was actually a man. Lu Bai looked at Ling Xiao calmly. His temperament was ethereal and otherworldly. His entire body exuded an aura of peerless magnificence. Women would feel ashamed of their inferiority and men would go crazy if they saw him. Ling Xiao finally understood why Lu Bai said he was concealing his appearance to avoid trouble. Indeed, with such a peerless face, it was easy to attract trouble. Even with Ling Xiao's composure, his heart couldn't help but beat wildly. This was the first time Ling Xiao had seen such a beautiful man. Many of the women he had seen were not as beautiful as Lu Bai. Have you seen enough? Junior Martial Uncle, follow me to meet the ancestors. Lu Bai looked at Ling Xiao with a faint smile. Ahem. Okay. I'm just a little surprised. I've never seen such a beautiful person before. Sorry, please lead the way, Lord War God. Ling Xiao felt his face turn red. No problem. Junior Martial Uncle, the ancestors have returned. Let's go. Lu Bai smiled indifferently. His smile seemed to dim the world and make all the flowers lose their color. Ling Xiao's heart couldn't help but tremble a few times. Too monstrous. If Lu Bai were to reveal his true appearance, countless people would go crazy over him. Ling Xiao suppressed the complicated emotions in his heart and flew towards the depths of the Battle Sky Sacred Realm with Lu Bai. Chapter 2018. In the Battle Sky Sacred Realm. The mountain range was undulating, and the ancient trees towered into the sky. It contained an incomparably powerful origin energy, more than 10 times that of the outside world. As a result, the various spiritual flowers and herbs here were exceptionally beautiful, containing an incomparably vast amount of energy essence. This place was filled with an ancient aura, as if it was the remains of an ancient mythical world, nurturing countless heavenly treasures. Along the way, Ling Xiao and Lu Bai saw herds of 5-colored deer running on the green grassland. They saw red-crowned cranes appearing on top of the white clouds. They saw a group of intelligent apes jumping and playing in the mountains. They saw a sea of flowers, a clear lake, and a forest that stretched as far as the eye could see. Everything here was filled with a refreshing aura of nature, without any traces of human activity. It was extremely close to the legendary Tao of nature. Ling Xiao and Lu Bai flew over the vast mountain range and stopped at a place with beautiful scenery. A wheat field appeared in front of them. The green wheat sprouts formed a green sea that stretched as far as the eye could see. As the wind blew, the gentle wind made one feel comfortable. There was a small path in the wheat field that led into the distance. 2 rows of willow trees were planted on both sides of the path. At this moment, all of them had sprouted new buds, and their leaves were green and glistening. It looked extremely peaceful. "Let's go," Lu Bai said to Ling Xiao as he slowly stepped onto the path. Ling Xiao was a little confused. He didn't know why Lu Bai chose to walk instead of flying. However, he didn't ask much and followed Lu Bai along the path into the depths of the wheat field. Boom! When they walked into the wheat field, Ling Xiao immediately felt the void tremble slightly. In the surrounding wheat fields, incomparably pure life qi emerged and began to surge into his and Lu Bai's body. It was vast and majestic. Ling Xiao's physical body was strong, and his vitality was boundless. His life origin was already very strong. At this moment, after absorbing the life qi, he actually felt his physical body slowly strengthening. Even his lifespan had increased by a lot. What is this place? Ling Xiao's heart trembled. The pure life qi was like the most fundamental energy of life. It allowed the life secret technique in Ling Xiao's body to operate naturally. It was even more effective than consuming a powerful saint pill. Ling Xiao followed Lu Bai as they walked along the small path. It was as though they were going through a baptism. In the middle of the wheat field, Ling Xiao saw a very strange farmer. The farmer was tall and sturdy, with thick eyebrows and big eyes. He was hoeing the field with a hoe in his hand, cutting off the roots of the weeds in the wheat field before throwing them onto the small path. However, Ling Xiao saw that after the weeds were removed, they quickly grew back. The farmer looked extremely patient as he weeded the weeds over and over again. Ling Xiao did not sense any cultivation from the farmer, but he instinctively felt that this farmer was not ordinary. It was as if his entire being had merged with the wheat field before him. He had a mysterious temperament. Patriarch. Lu Bai looked at the farmer and bowed. "It's Bai Yi. Is this junior nephew Qi Long's disciple, Ling Xiao?" The farmer stopped and wiped the sweat off his face. He smiled at Lu Bai and Ling Xiao as if he was an old farmer in the mortal world. It was hard to believe that he was the ancestor of the war god temple. "Greetings to ancestral master, I am Ling Xiao." Ling Xiao also bowed and said graciously. Ling Xiao couldn't sense any fluctuations of cultivation from the old farmer in front of him. It was as if he was no different from an ordinary person. Ling Xiao knew that the farmer's cultivation must be extremely terrifying. He might even be stronger than Lu Bai. Good. Very good. Junior Qi Long has indeed found a good successor. I didn't believe Bai Yi when he said that you were worthy of being the successor of the war god temple. Today, I know that Junior Qi Long did not find the wrong person. You are worthy of this responsibility. The farmer looked at Ling Xiao with a deep gaze, as if he could see through Ling Xiao from head to toe. Finally, he showed a trace of satisfaction. "You flatter me, ancestral master," Ling Xiao said with a smile. "I was in a hurry today, so I did not prepare a proper greeting gift. This ear of wheat is a gift to you. Ling Xiao, I hope you can be as vigorous as this ear of wheat." The farmer's palm flashed, and a green wheat ear flew over from the wheat field in the distance. It exuded a majestic vitality, and was handed to Ling Xiao by the farmer. "Thank you, ancestral master." Ling Xiao received it seriously. "Junior martial uncle, this wheat ear is a spiritual seed of creation planted by the ancestral master. Only 2 or 3 have been cultivated in 10,000 years. No matter how serious your injuries are, as long as you consume this wheat ear, you will recover immediately. The ancestral master is very generous." Even I do not have the chance to obtain such a spiritual seed of creation. Lu Bai transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. Spiritual seed of creation? Ling Xiao's heart trembled. He also knew about the spiritual seed of fortune. It was a supreme treasure that was created by the heavens and earth. It possessed all sorts of mysterious effects. For example, the wheat before him had the ability to revive the dead and regrow flesh and bones. Ling Xiao did not expect the farmer to be so generous. Little Bai Yi, are you talking bad about me again? Don't worry, I will not forget about you. The farmer looked at Lu Bai and threw another wheat ear to Lu Bai. Thank you, ancestral master. You are the best. Lu Bai said with a smile. All right, let's go. The two of you came to my wheat field. I don't know how many times I'll have to hoe the grass. I've suffered a great loss this time, a great loss. The farmer muttered to himself. Then he picked up the hoe and walked into the green wheat field. His figure and aura had completely merged with the wheat field. Junior Martial Uncle, you have already received the ancestral master's recognition. Let's continue. Lu Bai smiled and led Ling Xiao through the wheat field. Then, they walked past a quiet little forest and came to a peaceful lake. A fisherman wearing a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat was sitting by the lake, fishing quietly with a bamboo pole in his hand. This fisherman looked very old. His face was full of wrinkles, as if he had been blown by the wind for tens of thousands of years. However, his eyes were extremely focused as he stared at the fishing pole in front of him. With the previous lesson, Ling Xiao guessed that this fisherman was probably one of the ancestral masters of the War God Temple. Chapter 2019. As expected, Lu Bai brought Ling Xiao to the side and did not disturb the fisherman. Not long after, Ling Xiao saw the fishing line jump slightly, and a few light ripples appeared on the surface of the water. Whoosh! The fisherman immediately raised his fishing rod, drawing a beautiful arc in the air. However, what surprised Ling Xiao was that he did not catch a fish as he had imagined. Fishing with a straight hook? How can a straight hook catch a fish? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with surprise. The fisherman's hook was actually straight. Even if a fish was about to take the bait, it would probably be scared away by the fisherman's actions in an instant. Little guy, who said you can't fish with a straight hook? It's just a matter of willingly taking the bait. Aren't you here today? The fisherman seemed to know what Ling Xiao was thinking. He spoke calmly and faintly, then slowly turned his head. The fisherman looked very old, and his face was full of wrinkles. However, his eyes were incomparably deep, as if they contained wisdom that could see through everything. He spoke very gently to Ling Xiao. Greetings, ancestral master. He is Ling Xiao. Lu Bai bowed to the fisherman. Nephew Qilong's disciple? What an interesting little guy. Ling Xiao, do you know why I use a straight hook to fish? The fisherman smiled at Ling Xiao. Could it be that ancestral master is comprehending the great Tao of heaven and earth? Ling Xiao thought about it. No. The reason why I use a straight hook to fish is because I like it. In this world, there are not so many things that can be taken for granted. You just have to listen to your heart. As the saying goes, it's better to get something straight than to seek it in a crooked way. The fisherman shook his head, and his eyes were filled with deep meaning as he spoke. I've learned my lesson. Ling Xiao nodded. Although he had some complaints about the fisherman's deliberately mystifying actions, he also knew that experts all had some hobbies. He only treated it as a hobby of the fisherman's. It was indeed as he said, listening to your heart and following your heart. I'll give this hook to you as a greeting gift. Ling Xiao, you're going to meet Junior Brother Woodcutter next, right? However, Junior Brother Woodcutter is in a bad mood because he didn't capture that old brat Leibois. You have to be careful. The fisherman chuckled and handed Ling Xiao a silver hook. However, it was still a straight hook. It looked like a silver needle, shining with a bright light. Thank you for your reminder, Patriarch. Ling Xiao accepted it respectfully. This fish hook seemed to be something extraordinary. Even though Ling Xiao did not know how to use it, since it was a gift from the founder, it should not be anything ordinary. It had to be an extremely valuable treasure. Young Martial Uncle, this is the wishful heartless hook. It's a powerful treasure that our patriarch used when he was young. It can transform into thousands of different forms, and is extremely extraordinary. Lu Bai was very familiar with this hook, so he immediately explained to Ling Xiao through telepathy. Wishful Heartless Hook? This is an upper-grade holy treasure. It is mysterious and powerful. Even compared to the flipping sky seal, it is not much weaker. Ling Xiao thought to himself in shock. He had heard of the reputation of the Wishful Heartless Hook before. He did not expect the fisherman to give it to him directly. After the fisherman gave the gift, he continued to sit cross-legged in front of the small lake and fish. Ling Xiao and Lu Bai bowed silently to the fisherman, and continued on their way. After walking past the quiet lake and a messy stone forest, Ling Xiao and Lu Bai finally arrived at a dense forest. Gotcha! There was a burly man wearing animal hide. His muscles were taut and his blood was vigorous. He was holding a huge axe and chopping down trees. The axe was incomparably sharp. Soon he chopped down a towering ancient tree. When Ling Xiao saw this burly man, he immediately understood. This should be the woodcutter that the fisherman mentioned, the third patriarch of the War God Hall. Patriarch, this is... Lu Bai bowed to the woodcutter, but before he could finish speaking, he was rudely interrupted by the woodcutter. I don't want to know who he is. Lu Bai, since you are the chosen successor, your strength should not be weak. How about this? As long as he can take 3 of my moves, I will admit that he is the future War God Supreme. How about that? The woodcutter looked at Lu Bai indifferently. His gaze was extremely sharp, as if he did not take Ling Xiao seriously at all. 3 moves? Patriarch, aren't you making things difficult for him? After all, the difference in cultivation between you and Ling Xiao is too great. I'm afraid he can't even take one of your moves. Lu Bai said with a bitter smile. Don't worry. I will suppress my cultivation to the same level as him. If he can't even take 3 of my moves, then he should leave the War God's sacred realm obediently. My War God Hall does not need such trash. The woodcutter said coldly. 3 moves? All right. Patriarch, let alone 3 moves, even if it is 30 or 300 moves. I, Ling Xiao, am not afraid. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a bright light flashed in his eyes. If the woodcutter did not suppress his cultivation, even if Ling Xiao had the wordless heavenly book and the flipping sky seal, he would not be a match for the woodcutter. After all, the difference in cultivation was too great. It was like a baby holding a machete. No matter how hard he tried, he would not be a match for an adult. However, Ling Xiao was not afraid of anyone in the same realm as him. How arrogant. Take my first move, woodcutter. The woodcutter said coldly. Then a blazing divine light flashed around his body. He suppressed his cultivation to the 7th revolution half-saint realm, and the axe in his hand shone with a cold light as it slashed towards Ling Xiao. The axe light was extremely sharp. It was as if Ling Xiao was an immovable tree. In an instant, thousands of axe light slashed out, trying to kill Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao only felt that in front of that overwhelming axe light, his entire body seemed to have been fixed in place. There was no way for him to move at all. It was as if he could only face that axe light after axe light chopped at him. This is the power of time. Ling Xiao's body shook. He immediately felt that it was the power of time that had been added to his body. It was as if his entire body was fixed in place. His body could not keep up with the operation of his thoughts. Age of time, time deceleration. Ling Xiao did not hesitate to use the age of time. A strange light exuded from his body and rushed towards the axe light in front of him. Suddenly, the axe light seemed to have slowed down countless times in Ling Xiao's eyes as it slashed towards him slowly. At the same time, Ling Xiao also broke free from the shackles of the time force in an instant. His entire body moved through the air, and at the critical moment, he dodged the axe light that filled the sky. Chapter 2020. Rumble. Axe light fell from the sky, causing a violent explosion in the void. Then, it was annihilated with a loud bang. You've actually gotten your period? Not bad, not bad. Come, take another blow from my axe. Cut vegetables. The woodcutter's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. His interest in Ling Xiao grew. Suddenly he laughed loudly. A fierce aura gushed out from his body. Then he chopped at Ling Xiao with his axe. Gotcha. The black axe flew across the sky. In Ling Xiao's eyes, it seemed to have turned into 1,000 feet long. It exuded an ancient and terrifying aura. Axe light fell one after another. It was as if the Milky Way had turned upside down. It directly separated the void into countless pieces. Tens of thousands of axe lights slashed down, containing an extremely powerful spatial power. It was as if each axe light could separate a world. They intertwined with each other and were incomparably fierce, wanting to cut Ling Xiao into pieces as if he were cutting vegetables. This is the space power? A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. That sharp axe light came from all directions, as if it had set off a void storm. He was like a small boat in a raging sea, shrouded in an endless storm. The woodcutter had indeed only used the cultivation of a 7th revolution half-saint. However, he was at least in the realm of a saint king. His comprehension of the Great Way was far beyond Ling Xiao's imagination. Even if a 9th revolution half-saint did not have a powerful trump card, he would probably die without a burial place. The more dangerous the situation was, the calmer Ling Xiao was. Thoughts flashed in his mind. Almost at the same time as the woodcutter attacked, he attacked at the same time. Rumble! Ling Xiao punched out. His blood and qi surged to the sky. The golden divine light condensed into a golden divine dragon behind him, enveloping his entire body. The golden fist print flew across the sky. It was filled with chaotic qi. It contained an invincible fist print that could split heaven and earth. It seemed to be surrounded by the illusory image of 3,000 Tao worlds. It made the fist ferocious and domineering. Ling Xiao's idea was very simple. Since he was no match for the woodcutter in terms of comprehension of the Great Way, he might as well give up all the use of the Great Way. He directly erupted with his strongest strength. As the saying went, one force could defeat 10 techniques. One force could break 10,000 techniques. Crack! The golden fist print collided with the axe light in the sky. A blazing light burst out. The axe light was incomparably sharp. It broke through the layers of chaotic qi and directly chopped on Ling Xiao's fist. It pierced his flesh and made his hand a bloody mess in an instant. However, when the axe light penetrated deep into Ling Xiao's bones, it was unable to penetrate any further. The sound of metal clashing could be heard as the axe light collided violently. Ling Xiao's bones shone with a resplendent golden light, sparkling and translucent, as though they were made of gold. Unparalleled fist imprints surged out, and finally, the axe light was blasted apart. Although Ling Xiao's hand was badly mangled, his expression did not change at all. His battle intent soared, and his gaze was extremely sharp. He was like an invincible emperor, who could sweep through the 9 heavens and 10 earths, causing people's hearts to tremble. Rumble! The axe light that filled the sky was directly blasted apart by Ling Xiao's fist. Although there was a little bit of blood on Ling Xiao's fist, it made him even more ferocious. What a powerful fist intent. It's somewhat similar to the Celestial Emperor fist of the 9 layers Imperial Obelisk. Very good, kid. I'm starting to think more and more highly of you. However, my last move is not that easy to take. If you're killed by me, then it's your bad luck. Kid, are you ready? The woodcutter was not surprised, but delighted. His gaze became more and more excited. His battle intent soared, and his aura began to soar. As he stood there, it was as if the entire world was under his control. Every move he made seemed to possess an unfathomable power. Ancestral Master, although you're only using the cultivation of a 7th revolution half-saint, your realm is too high. The battle strength that you can unleash can even reach the level of an ordinary saint. This is too unfair to Ling Xiao. Lu Bai said with a wry smile. Although the ancestral master woodcutter in front of him looked ordinary, Lu Bai knew that he was the pillar of the war god temple. He was known as the space-time Saint King, and his strength was terrifying. The gap between him and Ling Xiao was still too big. Fair? How can there be absolute fairness in this world? This world respects the strong. No matter how many excuses the weak have, they're all excuses. Besides, do you really think that he's no match for me? Ancestral Master Woodcutter said with a faint smile, and a wisp of wisdom appeared in his eyes. Ancestral Master, I'm ready. Come. Ling Xiao said seriously. His body was filled with a majestic life force, and the injury on his fist was instantly healed. The aura around him rose, and a mysterious aura erupted. Ling Xiao seemed to have disappeared into the void, and there was an illusory aura of destiny around him. That's the art of reversing Red Dragon? Very good. I'd like to see how talented you are in the art of reversing fate. Take my third move, head cleaving. The woodcutter felt the strange aura fluctuation from Ling Xiao's body, and his eyes flashed slightly. The aura around him surged, and divine light danced in his eyes. The axe in his hand flashed with rays of light, and then it spun in the void and flew towards Ling Xiao. The axe light was dazzling, and it went straight for Ling Xiao's head. This is the power of karma. Ling Xiao's body trembled, and he was extremely shocked. Previously, the woodcutter had revealed the power of time and space, which was enough to shock him, but he didn't expect the woodcutter to know the power of karma of Buddhism. The axe light came towards Ling Xiao, and Ling Xiao had a vague feeling that the axe would definitely chop his neck, and it would definitely chop his head off. If his battle with the woodcutter was the cause, then the axe chopping off his head was the effect. In a way, the power of karma was similar to the reincarnation of fate. 1. The axe light was blazing, and its speed wasn't fast. When it flew towards Ling Xiao, it made his hair stand on end, and he felt a fatal danger. Defying fate, Ling Xiao roared, and the battle intent around him rose to the extreme. The vast power in his body gushed out, and in an instant, a river of destiny seemed to appear behind him, surging endlessly. The surrounding void became distorted. Ling Xiao stepped on the ground and pushed out with both hands, and the vast river of destiny seemed to flow in reverse. An extremely vast power of the way of the heavens erupted, and it surged towards the woodcutter. Ling Xiao felt a great threat, so he directly used the third move of the art of reversing fate, and breaking reincarnation. Boom. Chapter 2021. The axe light was incomparably blazing, blooming with boundless light, as if it was going to split the heavens and earth in half. With an even more terrifying force, it directly chopped at the woodcutter's neck. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions. The woodcutter's neck seemed to be cast in gold. The axe light couldn't even break his skin. Then the woodcutter stretched out 2 fingers and caught it. The axe trembled violently, but it couldn't escape from the woodcutter's grasp. The woodcutter stared at Ling Xiao, not concealing the admiration in his eyes, and said, "Good. Very good. I didn't expect your talent in the life-reversing technique to be no weaker than Qilong. The War God Temple is lucky to have you. Thank you for your praise, Ancestral Master. Ancestral Master, your combat strength is unparalleled. If not for Ancestral Master going easy on me, let alone 3 moves, I wouldn't even be able to take 1 move." Ling Xiao smiled faintly. "All right, you don't have to flatter me anymore. This time, I let that old man Leibo escape, but I shouldn't vent my anger on you. I think you've obtained the inheritance of the Age of Time, right? Coincidentally, I also have a time compass here. I'll give it to you as a greeting gift," the woodcutter said with a carefree smile. Then, a light flashed in his palm, and a pitch-black compass appeared, exuding powerful fluctuations of time. Time compass? Thank you, Ancestral Master. I didn't expect Ancestral Master to have such a treasure. Ling Xiao's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of surprise. He accepted it without hesitation and couldn't bear to part with it. He already had 2 time compasses in his hands. Now that he had 1 more, he would have 3 time compasses in his hands. This would give Ling Xiao a great advantage in competing for the inheritance of the flowing time Great Emperor. According to Uncle Su's deduction, there should be 9 time compasses. They were replicas of the Supreme Emperor weapon, the time compass. They were also the tokens to unlock the inheritance of the flowing time Great Emperor. I also snatched it from an old man in the space-time Heavenly Gate. However, this is only a replica of the time compass. It's not a very precious treasure. At most, it's equivalent to a middle-grade sage artifact. However, the scroll of the flowing time emperor hidden within it is not bad, and has benefited me greatly. Now, I'm giving it to you. I hope that you can snatch the flowing time emperor's inheritance from the hands of the space-time Heavenly Gate. The woodcutter chuckled. Yes, Ling Xiao nodded seriously. He sent a strand of his primordial spirit into the time compass. Instantly, he felt the power of time permeating the time compass. A golden scripture floated in the air, containing mysterious ripples. It was the half-year menstruation. This sutra of time actually contains the power to stop time? However, there seems to be something different about it. It even gave rise to the laws of time distortion and time prison, and it just so happens to complement the time sutra that I obtained. Ling Xiao thought to himself. With this scroll, one could imagine that Ling Xiao's comprehension of the power of time would improve by leaps and bounds, reaching a whole new level. Junior Marshal Uncle, come with me, Lu Bai said with a smile. The two of them bid farewell to the woodcutter, and continued towards the depths of the Battle Sky Sacred Realm. After passing through the forest, Lu Bai brought Ling Xiao to the front of an ancient mountain. This mountain looked very ordinary. It was only a few thousand feet high. It was bare without any trees, but it was extremely steep. It was like a heavy sword piercing the sky. Junior Marshal Uncle, do you know why I want to bring you to see the three patriarchs? Lu Bai stopped in front of the mountain and said slowly to Ling Xiao. Could it be some kind of test? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat as he asked. That's right. The Battle Sky Secret Technique is the foundation of the Battle God Temple. Only with the approval of the three patriarchs can one comprehend the Battle Sky Secret Technique. Now that the three patriarchs have approved of you, you are qualified to comprehend the Battle Sky Secret Technique. Lu Bai said with a faint smile. Battle Sky Secret Technique? Could it be in this mountain? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat as he said excitedly. That's right. The Battle Sky Secret Technique is hidden in this mountain. Go up yourself. What you can obtain will depend on your luck. Lu Bai said as he pointed at the mountain in front of him. The bare mountain had a winding path that extended from the foot of the mountain to the top. Although it looked very ordinary, there were clouds and mist at the top of the mountain, making it look ethereal and peaceful. Thank you, Lord Battle God. Ling Xiao nodded. He then took a deep breath and walked forward. Buzz. When Ling Xiao set foot on the first stone step, he felt the space around him tremble. A mysterious aura permeated the surroundings, as if strands of chaotic qi had seeped out from the mountain, coiling around him. Lu Bai, who was behind him, disappeared in an instant. Ling Xiao walked up the winding stone steps slowly to the top of the mountain. Rumble. The clouds and mist around him were ethereal and chaotic, forming a mysterious scene around Ling Xiao. It was as if he was in the primeval times. The scene was extremely shocking. Gods and demons that were tens of thousands of feet tall were fighting with each other on the vast and ancient land. Every blow could knock down stars and destroy mountains. The momentum was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao could even clearly see the scarlet eyes of those gods and demons, their heavy breathing, and the tiny blood vessels under their skin. Every movement of those gods and demons was incomparably clear. Kill. Fight. 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 If the gods stop me, I will kill the gods. If the demons stop me, I will kill the demons. If the heavens stop me, I will destroy shrouding heaven. The roars rose and fell one after another, making Ling Xiao feel his blood boiling. It was as if he had witnessed the great war of gods and demons in the ancient times. Those powerful figures all had an incomparably strong fighting spirit. Their attacks were also incomparably fierce, as if they could destroy this part of the world. Huge bodies fell into pools of blood, turning into mountains and lakes on the ground. Ling Xiao felt as if he had come to the ancient times and personally experienced this vast war. However, Ling Xiao was just a passerby. Although he saw those vivid scenes, he was observing from the perspective of a bystander. As he did not take a step forward, the world of the great war of gods and demons in the ancient times gradually faded away. Roar! Roar! The roars of dragons and tigers shook the sky. The figures of the ancient gods and demons disappeared. Ling Xiao saw the scene of the great war of demons in the ancient times. The supreme divine dragon that was millions of feet long, the ancestral phoenix that could burn the sky and destroy the earth, the white tiger that was overflowing with killing intent, and the black tortoise that supported the heaven and earth. Endless roars of divine beasts. The battle between them was incomparably fierce. Just like this, Every step Ling Xiao took, it was as if he had experienced the reincarnation of a great war. He saw countless scenes of the Great War in the ancient times. Even the stars fell, the earth was sunk, the flood was overflowing, and the flames burned the sky. Chapter 2022. The ancient mountain peak seemed to contain some kind of mark from the antiquity times. It was filled with the fluctuations of time, allowing Ling Xiao to experience the scenes of countless battles since the antiquity times. Just like that, Ling Xiao walked to the top of the mountain step by step. His body was filled with a strong fighting spirit, and his aura had also reached its peak. Boom. The top of the mountain looked extremely empty and lonely. The sea of clouds was faintly discernible, and above his head was a huge star. Dazzling starlight sprinkled down and gathered on Ling Xiao's body, as if it was reflecting the acupoints all over his body. The dazzling starlight began to surge into Ling Xiao's body. A warm aura enveloped Ling Xiao's body, and when he carefully observed the starry sky above his head, he immediately discovered the mystery within. Boom. The void trembled slightly, and a strange fluctuation spread out. The huge stars in the void began to slide in the void, turning into ancient talismans that appeared in front of Ling Xiao. The starry sky was vast, and the starlight was dazzling. In the entire starry sky, countless stars in the starry sky turned into a mysterious scripture in Ling Xiao's eyes. This is the heaven-battling secret skill? Ling Xiao's heart trembled. His eyes did not blink as he stared at the starry sky in front of him. Rumble. Ling Xiao's fighting spirit rose like a blazing pillar of divine light. It intertwined with the starry sky, forming a mysterious connection. Led by Ling Xiao's fighting spirit, a dazzling huge star suddenly fell from the sky. The huge star directly turned into a long stream of light, and fell into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, forming an ancient and mysterious talisman. Fight. It was the word fight, ancient and mysterious, as if it was chanted by the ancestors of antiquity times. It also seemed to be a word created by the first supreme great emperor at the beginning of the world. It contained the mystery of heaven and earth, intertwined with Tao and truth. As Ling Xiao's fighting spirit rose, huge stars fell from the void one after another, falling into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, gradually forming a supreme scripture. Heaven battling secret skill. Battle the heavens and destroy the earth. Primordial chaos unity, unrivaled primordial chaos, idealism of the heavenly Tao, good fortune spirit charging, primordial chaos body tempering, breaking the heavens, I am unrivaled. The mysterious scripture rang in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness like a huge bell. It was ancient and mysterious. Every time it vibrated, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit would also vibrate. Wang. The wordless heavenly book seemed to have sensed the aura of the heaven-battling secret skill. It exuded an extremely excited fluctuation, and directly rushed out of Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness, floating above his head. The void shook violently. The wordless heavenly book spread out, and turned into a vast star chart. The stars in the 9 heavens fell down one after another, as if they were returning to the origin, forming a complete secret technique of fighting the heavens. Ling Xiao seemed to have entered the deepest state of cultivation. He was enveloped by the true meaning of the heaven-battling secret technique, and began to slowly comprehend its supreme power. Boom. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged on top of the mountain. His body was surrounded by a blazing golden glow. He breathed out heavenly essence, and every breath he took was like a thunderbolt. He absorbed the starlight and vast energy into his body, slowly refining his physical body. Chaotic chi rose up in Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. A pure and powerful fighting spirit erupted from the depths of his primordial spirit. Crack. The chaos exploded. Ling Xiao's entire body expanded by over 10,000 times in the chaos, turning into a towering figure. He stood tall and radiated with endless energy. The chaos in the surroundings shook. Clear air rose and turbid air sank. A vast and ancient world was created. Afterwards, yin-yang and the 5 elements separated, creating all living beings and even countless chaotic god-fiends. Ling Xiao grabbed a sun and tossed it into his mouth. Immediately, the endless light and heat were refined by him, becoming part of his nourishment. His feet trembled, and the starry sky immediately dimmed. The power of the stars in the boundless galaxy was swallowed into his stomach. He seemed to be able to pluck the stars and take the moon with every move he made. He was extremely powerful. There was an endless war between the gods and demons in the chaos. Ling Xiao also entered the battlefield and fought until he went crazy. He killed billions of gods and demons, and condensed an immortal supreme fighting soul. This feeling was incomparably wondrous. Ling Xiao felt as if he had entered the life of another person, experiencing their joys and sorrows. He had battled the heavens and the earth for his entire life. His immortal soul had left an eternal mark in the world. Legend has it that the heaven battling secret technique has an extremely wonderful connection with the ancient War Emperor. Could this be the life of the War Emperor? Ling Xiao thought to himself. In such a state, his comprehension of the heaven battling secret technique began to improve by leaps and bounds. Buzz. There were already 7 lines on Ling Xiao's fate chart, which represented that his cultivation was at the 7th revolution half-saint realm. That was the mark left behind by the 7 nirvana tribulations. However, at this moment, as Ling Xiao comprehended the heaven-fighting secret skill, a mysterious tribulation chi gushed out from his body. His body actually cracked like a mirror, as if it would turn into dust at any time. The nirvana tribulation had arrived. Ling Xiao's body went from being destroyed to being restored to its original state. His life essence went from being withered to being majestic and vigorous. It was like a withering and flourishing process. It was so fast that it was almost completed in an instant. I have passed the 8th nirvana tribulation? No. My cultivation hasn't improved. It's still at the 7th revolution half-saint realm. Ling Xiao's heart suddenly jolted. He saw that one of the 7 runes on his fate chart had turned pure gold, exuding an ancient, mysterious and majestic aura. What's going on? Ling Xiao was a little surprised and confused. The other 6 runes were still gray and showed a chaotic color. However, the change in this rune was very obvious. Could it be, because I obtained the heaven battling secret technique, my nirvana tribulation was strengthened again? Ling Xiao thought to himself. Although he didn't understand what was going on, he knew that this change wouldn't do him any harm. On the contrary, it had increased his strength by quite a bit. Whoosh! Ling Xiao took a deep breath. There was a faint golden lightning in his lungs. It was dazzling, causing his breath to exude the aura of wind and thunder. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. A supreme battle intent condensed on his body, causing his soul to begin to exude an immortal aura. He actually comprehended the heaven battling secret technique so quickly? This kid is really a person with great luck. In the heaven battling saint realm, the woodcutter who was chopping firewood suddenly raised his head, revealing a trace of surprise in his eyes. Chapter 2023. The divine world was vast and boundless, and it was divided into 36 heavens. The upper 3 heavens were the Tai-Ching heavens, the Yu-Ching heavens, and the Shang-Ching heavens. They were the locations of the 12 immortal sacred lands, and they were the closest to the origin of the divine world. Although the upper 3 heavens was very close to the core of the divine world, it was still not the core of the divine world. The Daoyuo territory was the center of the divine world. If the divine world was a huge circular continent, then the Daoyuo territory would be the center of the circle. It was the core of the divine world, and it contained the purest origin energy. The Daoyuo territory was the core of the divine world, and it was also the passage between the divine world and the other worlds. However, after the Great Divine Demon War in the ancient times, the passage was completely closed, and the great emperor clans were guarding the Daoyuo territory. The emperor clans were reclusive, and the 12 immortal sacred lands were the rulers of the divine world. However, the emperor clan's foundation and strength were not to be underestimated, and they were not weaker than the 12 immortal sacred lands. After all, they were the descendants of the 9 emperors of the human clan, and their foundation and strength were unfathomable. The people of the emperor clans were naturally arrogant, and they thought that they were the masters of the divine world. The Hua clan was located in the Daoyuo territory. Tens of thousands of sacred mountains rose from the ground, and they were shrouded in endless auspicious gas and light. There was a powerful array fluctuation, and mysterious symbols lingered around it. It emitted an aura fluctuation that would make a saint's scalp tingle. The Hua clan had a long history, and even among the emperor clans, their strength was ranked in the top 3. In the depths of the folded void, on top of a mountain, an old man with white hair and beard sat cross-legged. He was dressed in hemp clothes, and his eyebrows and beard were on the ground. His aura was unfathomable, and every breath he took caused the heavens and earth to fluctuate with him. And the sun, moon, and stars were flickering. At this moment, Hua Tianqiong and Hua Yin were kneeling respectfully in front of the old man, and their faces were filled with reverence. Are you saying that you found the aura of the Pangu clan in the war god temple? The old man said faintly, and his eyes were slightly closed. His voice was incomparably ethereal. That's right. Forefather, I sense the bloodline aura of the Pangu clan on War Mountain, but it has already left. According to my investigation, Tiangang, who was promoted from Ares College to Battle Hall, is most likely a remnant of the Pangu clan. Furthermore, his bloodline aura is incomparably pure. He should be a core member of the clan. Hua Yin said respectfully. Very good. After hiding for so many years, the Pangu clan had finally shown up. This time, the treasure was most likely going to be born. Keep a close eye on them. Once you find any survivors of the Pangu clan, capture them alive. The old man said slowly. Yes. Ancestor, what should we do with Long Outyen? Hua Yin nodded seriously, then asked hesitantly. Long Outyen? This child was a variable. Now that the heavenly mysteries were in chaos, even the Fortune Shrine's sky-gazing elder couldn't find any information about him. This child was definitely hiding a great secret. Go and investigate him carefully, from the moment he first appeared in the divine realm, no matter how big or small. See if you can find any loopholes. I have some suspicions in my heart, but I can't be sure. No matter what, whether it's Long Outyen or the War God Temple, anyone who dares to challenge the dignity of the Chinese will have to pay a sufficient price. The old man suddenly opened his eyes. There was a blazing sharpness in his eyes that seemed to be able to burn the void in front of him. Forefather, I must personally torture Long Outyen to death. Only then can I vent the hatred in my heart. Hua Tianqiong suddenly raised his head and said, his eyes full of hatred. The old man in linen was Hua Tianqiong's direct ancestor. He usually gave Hua Tianqiong a lot of guidance, so he was more casual in front of the old man than Hua Yin. Long Outyen is nothing to worry about. Tianqiong, the chosen one, is about to begin. You have accumulated a lot of strength, but it's still a little difficult to break through to the third stage of heaven treading before the chosen one. During this time, follow me and cultivate by my side. The old man in linen said indifferently. Thank you, forefather. Hua Tianqiong's eyes revealed a hint of joy as he quickly said. Yes. Before the chosen one begins, don't get into an open conflict with the War God Temple. The Chinese still need to bide our time and wait for the arrival of the emperor. As for the War God Temple, they won't be able to jump around for long. The old man in linen said. The arrival of the emperor. Could it be? Hua Yin and Hua Tianqiong trembled, and their eyes were filled with incomparable reverence. That's right. Tianqiong, you must work hard to cultivate. If you can break through to the third stage of heaven treading, you might be able to become the emperor's follower. At that time, your future will be limitless. So don't let an ant affect your Taoist heart, understand? The old man in linen glanced at Hua Tianqiong and seemed to be reminding him. Yes, forefather. Hua Tianqiong's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately said seriously. Heavenly Curse Sect. In an ancient hall filled with clouds and mist, Yuan Qing stood in front of a young man in white, and told him what happened in the War God Temple. The young man looked extraordinarily handsome. His black hair was draped over his shoulders, and his skin was as clear as jade. His entire body exuded a transcendent and ethereal aura. However, his eyes seemed to have experienced the vicissitudes of life, and there were mysterious symbols flickering in them, making him seem even more mysterious. Although Yuan Qing couldn't sense any aura from the young man, he knew that the young man was the true ruler of the Heavenly Curse Sect, the sect master of the Heavenly Curse Sect. He was an antique who had lived for countless years, and was far from as young as he looked. Have you found out everything? The young man said indifferently. Sect Master, although we can't be completely sure, Long Outyin should know where Ji Feishuan is. If we can capture Long Outyin, we'll definitely be able to get information about Zhou Tian's life and death mirror. Yuan Qing said slowly. Capture Long Outyin? How? He's only a half-step saint, but he can fight with Lei Xuanji. This Long Outyin is not simple. He must have a big secret. Investigate him carefully, and don't alert the enemy. The young man said indifferently. Yes, Sect Master. However, this Long Outyin shouldn't be underestimated. I have a feeling that if he grows up, he'll be a great enemy of our heavenly curse sect. If we can eliminate him, we'll have to do it as soon as possible. Yuan Qing said, and there was a trace of blazing killing intent in his eyes. It doesn't matter. We don't have to do it. Since such a monster has appeared in the War God Temple, I'm afraid someone is more anxious than us. He won't live for long. The young man said with a faint smile. However, his smile was extremely cold, and there was a bone-chilling intent hidden in it. Chapter 2024. Ling Xiao was in seclusion in the Battle Sky Sage Realm. After eliminating Lei Xuanji and Lei Bo, the War God Temple proceeded to clean up the entire Thunder Palace, uprooting all the remaining demons that were hiding in the palace. Although the experts of the Thunder Hall were almost completely annihilated, and the entire War God Hall had suffered a great blow, everyone from the War God Hall had erupted with unprecedented cohesion. Ling Xiao had become the idol of all the disciples of the War God Shrine. He had crushed Yang, one of the heavenly curse sect, and Hua Tianqiong of the Chinese, scolded the saints and fought Lei Xuanji to a standstill. His peerless demeanor had been deeply imprinted in everyone's heart. Even the original three holy princes, Anai Shang, Gao Yang, and Wu Xiong, were overshadowed by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had truly become the spiritual leader of the War God Temple, fully deserving of the title of Little God of War. Many disciples erupted with an incomparably high passion for cultivation, and their battle intent soared. An unyielding heart began to awaken, causing the fortune of the War God Temple to become even more majestic and vigorous. At the same time, the entire divine world was also somewhat shaken by the storm. In the various heavens of the divine world, the remnants of the demon clan were constantly appearing, causing endless slaughter. The experts of the 12 immortal holy lands were alarmed, and they sent out powerful disciples and elders to the various heavens to suppress the remnants of the demon clan. In the divine world, the forbidden lands that had been passed down since the ancient times began to have a great commotion. Immortal light illuminated the 9 heavens, chaotic chi shrouded the land, forming a chaotic domain. Even powerful ferocious beasts were awakened, and their roars shook the heavens all around. There were constantly legends of ancient monstrous geniuses appearing in the world, and everywhere revealed the aura of an impending storm. Some people saw a 10,000 zhang tall purple divine sun rising from the East Sea, and a man with purple hair fluttering in the wind flew out from the divine sun, swallowing the essence of heaven and earth. Purple flames rose around his body, burning the rivers and boiling the sea. His aura was monstrous to the heavens. Some people also saw a huge snowy mountain collapse in the extreme north, revealing an immortal mysterious ice coffin. Many people were alarmed by the aura of the ice coffin, and wanted to open it. In the end, a peerless beauty walked out from the ice coffin, and with just a glance, everyone was frozen into ice sculptures. Some people even saw endless lightning intertwining in the great swamp of the west, and the destructive lightning that could destroy the sky, and a mysterious young man was born from it. He opened his mouth and swallowed the lightning that had been nurtured in the great swamp of the west for countless years. Countless ancient monstrous geniuses appeared in the divine world one after another. The divine world became even more bustling. The most shocking news of them all came from the 9. Legend had it that a peerless genius who called himself the Son of Heaven came to the 9 imperial gates, and claimed to be the son of the celestial emperor. He swept through all the geniuses in the 9 imperial gates, and even the saint patriarchs in the 9 imperial gates couldn't do anything to him. In the end, a Saint King ancestor of the Ninth Imperial Palace, personally spoke with Tianzi for a long time. He directly announced to the entire Ninth Imperial Palace that Tianzi was the son of Heaven Monarch, and also the young master recognized by the Ninth Imperial Palace. He was about to rebuild the ancient heavenly court and recruit followers. At the same time, Tianzi also took out many supreme saint treasures, peerless saint techniques, and even imperial scriptures as rewards. Suddenly, countless experts became excited and rushed towards the imperial obelisk, gathering under Tianzi's command. Many sages who had seen the heavenly son admitted that although the heavenly son had yet to become a sage, his battle prowess was comparable to that of a sage. He was even hailed as the #1 heaven's pride in the entire god realm. And the title of #1 naturally aroused the unwillingness of countless people. It wasn't just the geniuses of the 12 immortal holy lands, but there were also some rogue cultivators, and even people from the emperor clans that attacked. In the end, all of them were defeated by Tianzi. Moreover, they were sincerely convinced that Tianzi was the #1 chosen of heaven. For a time, the emperor's name became more and more famous. He seemed to be able to suppress the world and become invincible. The god realm was becoming more and more chaotic. Many saints with profound cultivation could smell a hint of a storm approaching. Ling Xiao had been in seclusion in the Battle Sky Sage realm for 10 years. This could be said to be the longest seclusion Ling Xiao had had since he came to the god realm. In these 10 years, under the leadership of Lu Wenzheng, Void Pierce, and Chong He, the Battle Temple's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. They had recruited many talented disciples and become more prosperous. Fengya, Hu Zi, Tainyo, Minro, Wang Lin, and the others' cultivation had also increased by leaps and bounds with the help of the Saint Liquid and Origin pills left behind by Ling Xiao. All of them had reached the half-step saint realm. The speed of their breakthroughs had left the other people in the sect somewhat dumbfounded. Especially the Black Donkey. After swallowing a large amount of Origin pills, his cultivation had skyrocketed. In just 10 years, he had actually passed several nirvana tribulations and his cultivation had directly reached the 7th revolution half-step saint realm. The Black Donkey had become the second person in the entire Battle Temple besides Ling Xiao to reach the high-level half-step saint realm. This caused this guy to be very proud of himself and call himself the eldest senior brother of Battle Temple. In the Battle Sky Sage realm, Ling Xiao had been sitting cross-legged on the mountain peak for 10 years. Blazing divine light rose around his body. Numerous stars intertwined and mysterious Taoist rhymes lingered around him. His aura became ethereal and otherworldly. Rumble. Blazing lightning flickered above Ling Xiao's head. There were blazing flames, violent storms, and scenes of a great battle between gods and devils. They intertwined to form Taoist rhymes and formed an incomparably mysterious formation diagram. Blood qi surged around his body. His black hair was like a waterfall, dense and lustrous. It fluttered in the wind. Faint dragon roars could be heard from his body. His body glowed and his aura was incomparably powerful. Kacha. Suddenly, Ling Xiao opened his eyes. 2 rays of golden light shot out from his eyes. They were like divine swords that pierced through the sky, causing the void to tremble slightly. So this is the Battle Sky secret technique, or should I call it the Battle Sky merit? Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a trace of understanding. Rumble. Blazing divine light flickered in his hands. In an instant, an ancient and vast aura erupted. Runes rose from his palms. Heaven and earth shook. In an instant, a black ancient seal soared into the sky and fell into the distance. Flipping Sky Seal. Ling Xiao had used the Battle Sky secret technique to derive the true meaning of the flipping sky seal. Unparalleled power erupted, causing the void in the distance to explode. Cracks appeared in the void. Rumble. Blazing flames spewed out from Ling Xiao's body. Chaotic mist rose. He was like a saint emperor of flames, erupting with incomparably terrifying energy fluctuations. Chapter 2025. Flame Emperor Cauldron. The ancient cauldron in front of him was the Flame Emperor Cauldron that Ling Xiao had seen at Zhao Ritian's place. However, as Ling Xiao had used the Flame Emperor Cauldron once, he had a certain understanding of the Flame Emperor Cauldron's extreme emperor aura. Hence, The Flame Emperor Cauldron that he created with the Heaven Battling secret skill had some of the Flame Emperor Cauldron's majesty and power. Rumble. The heavens and earth trembled violently. Ling Xiao used the secret art of heaven battling, and a powerful fighting will burst from his body. It was like a vast heavenly pillar that shot into the sky, as if it could shatter the heavens all around. Blazing divine light gushed out. His blood chi filled the air, and the way around him permeated the air. He continued to use this supreme celestial art to evolve all kinds of supreme divine powers. The more Ling Xiao comprehended the heaven battling secret skill, the more shocked he was. The heaven battling secret skill was also known as the heaven battling technique. It was an extreme battle saint technique that could create various heaven battling secret skills and turn them into one's strongest combat strength. It was extremely terrifying. The heaven battling secret skill was a peerless killing technique. Be it the heaven swallowing secret skill, the life secret skill, the death secret skill, or the teleportation secret skill that Ling Xiao had obtained previously, strictly speaking, were not true killing techniques. They could only assist Ling Xiao in battle. However, the heaven battling secret skill was different. To Ling Xiao, it was the first exceptional heaven battling technique that he had truly obtained. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation had not improved in the past 10 years, his understanding of the heaven battling secret skill had reached an extremely high level. Using the heaven battling secret skill to evolve the flipping sky seal, the Yen Emperor tripod, and other peerless magic weapons had multiplied his battle strength. I didn't expect to stay in the heaven battling sacred realm for so long. I wonder what's going on in the outside world. Ling Xiao muttered to himself with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Swoosh. He directly soared into the sky and turned into a divine rainbow as he traversed the void and left the heaven battling sacred realm. After comprehending the heaven battling secret skill, Ling Xiao already had the right to enter and exit the heaven battling sacred realm as he wished. War God Hall. On the square between the 9 sacred mountains, Anai Shang wore a feathered robe. Her skin was jade-like jade, and her figure was graceful. She was extremely beautiful, exuding an extremely powerful aura. Standing behind Anai Shang were Wuxia and Gao Yang, as well as some disciples of the combat god Hall. At this moment, her eyes were filled with a grave expression as she stared at the figures in front of her. Her fighting spirit soared as if she was facing a great enemy. Opposite Anai Shang stood a young man and woman. The man was wearing golden armor and had a burly figure. His reddish gold hair danced in the wind, and there was a blazing light shooting out from his eyes. It was extremely frightening. The woman was wearing a purple dress. She was tall and slender, and her face was beautiful and refined. However, she looked very cold at the moment, and her whole body exuded a kind of condescending arrogance. Both of them were at the peak of the 9th Revolution half-saint realm. Their strength was unparalleled. Moreover, their temperament was ethereal and otherworldly. They had a kind of lofty attitude. Anai Shang, it's your fortune that the Son of Heaven has taken a liking to you. Why are you so ignorant? The man in the golden armor said indifferently. His voice was very calm. Tuobayu, you are also the holy son of the 9 imperial obelisk. You are actually willing to be a servant of an unknown person? What a disappointment. Anai Shang sneered coldly. Speaking of which, Anai Shang was quite familiar with the man in golden armor. After all, the 9 imperial obelisk and the war god temple were still considered allies on the surface. Tuobayu was the strongest person in the 9 imperial obelisk generation. He was at the peak of the 9th Revolution half-saint realm. Legend had it that he was only half a step away from becoming a saint. Tuobayu and Anai Shang could be considered acquaintances, and had done some missions together. However, Anai Shang did not expect that Tuobayu would claim that he had brought the Son of Heaven's decree to make Anai Shang a follower of the Son of Heaven. Anai Shang was naturally unwilling, which led to the current confrontation. Anai Shang, I am the Son of Heaven's follower, not a servant. You will never know how powerful the Son of Heaven is. If you miss today's opportunity, even if you kneel down and beg the Son of Heaven in the future, he will not look at you at all. This is your only chance. You have to think carefully. Tuobayu's eyes turned cold, and his expression was somewhat ugly as he spoke coldly. There's no need to think. I, Shang, will not follow anyone. No matter how powerful the Son of Heaven is, it has nothing to do with me. The 9 imperial obelisk is willing to bend the knee, but the war god temple is not willing. Shang said resolutely. An ant will always be an ant. You will never know the greatness of the divine dragon. It is your fortune to be chosen by the Son of Heaven. It is also the fortune of the entire war god temple. Since you do not know how to appreciate favors, I'm afraid the war god temple will disappear forever soon. The purple-robed lady, who had been silent all this while, laughed coldly. What ant? What divine dragon? That dog's hit Son of Heaven thinks too highly of himself. I think you are simply too arrogant. You came to the war god temple and said that the Son of Heaven wants to marry senior sister Shang? Do you think he is worthy? Wuxia was instantly enraged as he spoke with an unfriendly expression. That's right. What does it have to do with you whose senior sister Shang wants to marry? Don't flaunt your prowess here. Hurry up and scram. Otherwise you will not be able to leave the war god temple. Gao Yang said with a cold smile. Everyone in the war god temple revealed a trace of anger in their eyes. The Son of Heaven was actually so frivolous and shameless. He actually allowed 2 of his subordinates to summon Shang. This made the disciples of the war god temple, who viewed Shang as the perfect goddess in their hearts, completely enraged. Noisy. Is the Son of Heaven's greatness something that you ants can casually speculate about? If you dare to disrespect him again, you will be killed without mercy. The purple-robed lady's eyes flashed with killing intent as she spoke coldly. The aura around her body surged as the peak of the 9th revolution, half-saint realm erupted. The mighty great Yin finger chi gushed out, causing everyone to involuntarily shiver, as if they would be frozen at any time. Who does the Son of Heaven think he is? If Martial Uncle Long is here, he can suppress him with one hand. Gao Yang laughed coldly. Long Outyan? Are you talking about the Long Outyan who is rumored to be able to fight evenly with Lei Xuanji of the Saint Realm? He, my Son of Heaven is also somewhat interested in him, and wants to recruit him as a follower. I have brought along the decree. Unfortunately, this lad is too cowardly. He has not appeared for 10 years in the name of seclusion. Such a person dares to say that he can suppress the Son of Heaven? He is truly ignorant and arrogant. The purple-robed lady laughed coldly. Senior Sister Zening is right. I think the War God Temple is deliberately exaggerating that Long Outyan. There is no need for the Son of Heaven to personally take action. If that Long Outyan dares to appear, I will suppress him directly. Tuobayu said disdainfully. He had also heard of Ling Xiao's reputation. However, the battle between Ling Xiao and Lei Xuanji 10 years ago should have spread throughout the divine world. However, it was covered up by the news of the Son of Heaven's appearance. In the past 10 years, it could be said that the Son of Heaven's most glorious 10 years. He had gathered a large number of followers who were peerless geniuses of various sections. In Tuobayu's heart, the Son of Heaven was an invincible existence. No one could be his opponent. Is that so? Suddenly, a calm and indifferent voice resounded in the void. Kacha! The void suddenly shattered. Blazing divine light bloomed and chaotic fog filled the air. A figure with a monstrous aura walked out from the void. A pair of eyes that were like divine lamps instantly stared at Tuobayu and Zening. Chapter 2026. It's Long Outyan. Martial Uncle Long. Haha. Martial Uncle Long has come out of seclusion. Let's see if those two bastards can still be so arrogant. What bullshit, Tianzi. He's not even fit to carry Martial Uncle Long's shoes. When everyone saw Ling Xiao in the sky, they couldn't help but tremble. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. It had been 10 years. Ling Xiao had been in seclusion in the Battle Heaven Sacred Realm for 10 years. 10 years ago, Ling Xiao had defeated the geniuses of the Heavenly Curse sect and the Chinese clan. He had even fought Lei Xuanji without being at a disadvantage. His peerless demeanor had already won the hearts of countless disciples of the War God Temple. They had already regarded him as their idol, and were filled with fanatical worship. In these 10 years, the War God continent had been in turmoil. Countless geniuses had emerged, and even the monstrous geniuses of the ancient times had awakened. Among them, Tianzi was the most dazzling. He had gathered many followers under him. Even Tuobayu, the saint of a holy land, had become Tianzi's follower. However, the worship of the disciples of the war god temple towards Ling Xiao did not decrease at all. Ling Xiao had become the symbol of their spirit. Countless disciples of the war god temple had acknowledged him as the little god of war. Now that Ling Xiao had come out of seclusion, everyone's hearts were immediately at ease. Marshal Uncle Long, you've become stronger again. Wu Xiong and Gao Yang were indescribably surprised and exclaimed. They had witnessed Ling Xiao's growth with their own eyes. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the 7th Revolution half-saint realm, his aura had become increasingly unfathomable. It was obvious that he was much stronger than 10 years ago. They were also very grateful to Ling Xiao. 10 years ago, Ling Xiao had defeated Yang Wen and Hua Tianxiong, avenging them. Moreover, he had left behind many origin pills for them. Not only had their injuries been completely healed, but their cultivation had also risen to another level. This is the aura of the Battle Heaven secret technique? Enaishang's face revealed a trace of astonishment. Although she knew that Ling Xiao had become the little god of war of the war god temple, and should have been in seclusion in the Battle Heaven sacred realm for the past 10 years, she was still incomparably shocked after sensing the incomparably mysterious aura from Ling Xiao. The supreme secret technique of the War God Temple, the supreme technique known as the Heavenly Battle Merit, had actually been successfully cultivated by Ling Xiao. After all, it was said that the 12 sky techniques were extremely profound and profound. Only Saint Dao experts were able to completely comprehend them, and even if half-saints cultivated them, they would only be able to obtain a superficial understanding of them. However, Enaishang felt an aura similar to Lu Bai's from Ling Xiao. This meant that Ling Xiao had at least cultivated the heaven battling secret skill to the greater mastery stage. Your Long Aotian? However, he was merely a 7th Revolution half-sage. So, how could he dare to say that he could fight against a sage? I didn't expect that the War God Temple would actually exaggerate the truth in order to create momentum. How disappointing. Tuobayu glanced at Ling Xiao with a hint of surprise in his eyes. When he saw Ling Xiao's cultivation level, he said disdainfully. It was rumored that Ling Xiao had fought against Elder Huang Tai and Lei Xuanji, but Tuobayu had never seen it with his own eyes. Elder Huang Tai naturally wouldn't announce the results of that battle, so Tuobayu didn't believe these rumors. Moreover, it seemed that Ling Xiao's cultivation level was only at the 7th Revolution half-sage realm, which was 2 stages lower than him. This made him laugh coldly in his heart. Long Aotian? You don't seem to be anything special. However, it's good that you've come out of seclusion. The Emperor's decree is to summon Long Aotian and Enaishang to the heavenly court. Why aren't you kneeling down to accept the decree and express your gratitude? Zining's eyes flashed as she looked at Ling Xiao indifferently and spoke condescendingly. There was an aura in her voice that no one dared to defy. The Emperor wants to summon Enaishang and me to the heavenly court? Isn't he being too insincere? Even if he wants to invite me to the heavenly court, he should be the one to do it personally. What's the meaning of sending 2 weak ants? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he spoke plainly. He could not help but recall the time when he was with Zhou Panlong. He had met a mysterious young man who was like the Emperor of Heaven. In just a short 10 years, the Emperor actually had such a huge influence. What a sharp tongue. Long Aotian, are you really going to defy the decree? Zining and Tuobayu's eyes turned cold as they spoke with an ugly expression. They did not expect Ling Xiao to be so arrogant and not take them seriously at all. Although Tuobayu and Zining were followers of the Emperor, they were both saints and saintesses of the sacred grounds. They were usually arrogant and claimed to be peerless geniuses. Now that they were being looked down upon by Ling Xiao, their hearts were filled with murderous intent. Defy the decree? What a joke. Who is the Emperor? Is he an ancient emperor, or one of the 9 emperors of the human race? Is he worthy to give me a decree? Take the opportunity when I don't feel like killing people now and get lost. Ling Xiao laughed coldly. Then his eyes turned cold as if there were blazing lightning rising. He had an imposing aura without being angry. Long Aotian, how dare you disrespect the Emperor? Tuobayu said angrily. Disrespect to the emperor is disrespect to the emperor of heaven. You should be killed. Zining said coldly. Blazing sword radiance rose around her, and the sword essence was extremely sharp. It was as if the surrounding void had been pierced through. It was terrifying. I am really curious. Who gave you the courage to behave so atrociously in my combat god hall? Since you are not leaving, leave your lives here. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he looked at Tuobayu and Zining. Tuobayu and Zining suddenly felt a chill down their spines. It was as if they were being stared at by an ancient ferocious beast. A sense of danger surged in their hearts. Rumble! Ling Zhao threw out a punch. Suddenly, a blazing golden fist print traversed the sky and pressed down on Tuobayu and Zining. The fist print was extremely ferocious. It was like a divine sun in the 9 heavens. The rolling golden qi and blood seemed to have turned into a blazing flame that wanted to burn everything into ashes. Long Outyan, how dare you? Tuobayu's face changed. He did not expect Ling Zhao to attack without saying a word. He roared, and a vast aura of the holy path rose around him. The golden armor became ancient and majestic, and there seemed to be mysterious dragon-shaped patterns on it. Then he threw a punch at Ling Zhao. Roar! The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens. Tuobayu's fist print contained the majesty of the divine dragon. It was as if he was the emperor of the dragon tribe. He charged towards Ling Zhao. The emperor's dragon fist. This was the fist technique that the emperor imparted to Tuobayu. It contained the majesty of the heavens and the unfathomable power of the dragon fist. One punch could shatter space and time. It was extremely domineering. Crack. Chapter 2027. The void vibrated violently, and the sky shook as though there were stars falling from the 9 heavens, showering down their radiance. The vast roar of a dragon resounded, causing the spectators to tremble and their faces to turn pale. A figure flew out from the divine light that filled the sky. He groaned in the void and his face turned pale. It's Tuobayu? Someone exclaimed in surprise. The divine light that filled the sky dispersed. Ling Zhao stood in the sky. His clothes were whiter than snow, and his black hair fluttered in the wind. Golden divine chains of order encircled his body. He maintained his punching posture. His body did not move at all, and his expression was indifferent. However, Tuobayu was sent flying by Ling Zhao's punch. His face was filled with disbelief. Your physical body can withstand the son of heaven's dragon fist? Tuobayu's face turned pale. Although he had not mastered the son of heaven's dragon fist, it was indeed a supreme fist skill. It was a supreme fist skill that was formed by the fusion of the supreme martial arts of the human tribe and the dragon tribe. However, in front of Ling Zhao's punch, it was so weak. It was as if Ling Zhao did not use any martial arts at all. It was just the strength of his physical body. With one punch, all the divine dragon phantoms in the sky were shattered, and Tuobayu was sent flying. Tuobayu's arm was trembling slightly. It was completely numb, and he had lost all feeling. His heart was in turmoil. At this moment, a thought appeared in his mind. Could it be that the legends about Long Outyan were true? Is this the combat strength of the Saint of the 9 Imperial Gates? Too weak. Come at me together. Ling Zhao said flatly and walked towards Tuobayu and Zining. Rumble. The void shook violently, and the heavens all around were rumbling. Ling Zhao walked like a dragon and a tiger. Chaotic qi surrounded him. Every step he took seemed to be stepping on the nodes of the heavens and earth, containing the laws of the great path. Every move he made had unfathomable heavenly might. Dazzling starlight sprinkled down from the sky. Ling Zhao was like a celestial emperor who was pushing the sun, moon, and stars. His majestic aura came crushing down from the sky, causing Tuobayu and Zining's expressions to change. Their hearts were filled with fear. Long Outyan lives up to his name. He's too strong. Let's attack together. Zining's eyes flashed with a cold light. It was as if 2 blazing swords had pierced through the sky. She shouted coldly and made the first move. Sensing the terrifying power in Ling Zhao's body, Zining no longer dared to underestimate him. She gave it her all and did not hold back. She immediately unleashed her full power. Rays of sword light shot out from Zining's body, causing her aura to become even sharper. A ray of light flashed in her palm, and an ancient purple sword appeared. It was crystal clear and extremely sharp. It seemed to contain extremely strange blood vessels, causing the sword to be even more ferocious. Whoosh! The ancient sword shot through the air like a primordial light that pierced through the chaos. It was extremely sharp and extremely fast. It appeared before Ling Xiao almost instantly. This was a supreme saint sword that contained peerless killing power. It was boundlessly terrifying. Ling Xiao's expression was extremely calm. In the face of this ancient purple sword, he actually stretched out his palm. It turned into a huge palm print and fell from the sky. "You're courting death." Zining's eyes flashed with killing intent. This saint sword was extremely terrifying. Even a saint would not dare to take it head-on. Ling Xiao actually wanted to use his bare hands to fight against it. In her opinion, he was simply courting death. The sword light became even sharper. It slashed down from the sky and wanted to cut off Ling Xiao's palm, overturning the heavens. Ling Xiao suddenly spat out a few words. Rumble. Terrifying divine light blossomed from his body, and runes intertwined in his palm, forming an ancient golden seal. It exuded boundless majesty and mysterious fluctuations, and it directly collided with the purple sacred sword. Kacha. Sparks flew in all directions and blazing divine light rose. It was as though two peerless divine weapons had collided in the void. It created an endless divine light storm. However, Zining's expression changed. Ling Xiao's palm was not cut off as she had imagined. Instead, she felt an irresistible divine power coming from the purple saint sword. It was directly slapped down by Ling Xiao. Her arm was trembling violently, and the ancient sword was about to fly out of her hand. Whoosh! Ling Xiao flicked his finger, and a blazing ray of light shot across the sky towards Zining's glabella. It was extremely fast. The ray of light was extremely sharp and contained a strong sword essence. In an instant, it pierced through the void and shot out a ray of bloody light from Zining's glabella. However, a purple rune rose from Zining's glabella. It was as though a jade pendant had appeared. In an instant, it blocked the ray of light from Ling Xiao's finger. Flipping sky seal. No, this is not the flipping sky seal. Zining was extremely embarrassed. She pulled a distance away from Ling Xiao and her expression became extremely ugly. She originally thought that Ling Xiao had used the flipping sky seal, but she suddenly realized that it wasn't the real flipping sky seal. Instead, it seemed to be transformed by some kind of magical power. It actually blocked the supreme holy sword in her hand, which made her feel a storm in her heart. Kill. Zining and Tuobayu looked at each other, and killing intent rose in their eyes. In an instant, they activated an even stronger force and attacked Ling Xiao at the same time. Zining held the purple saint sword in her hand. Her sword essence was monstrous, and turned into a sea of swords. It was like a boundless storm that wanted to drown Ling Xiao completely. On the other hand, a golden spear appeared in Tuobayu's hand. It exuded an ancient and ferocious aura. It was also a peerless weapon. The light from the spear caused the void to tremble violently. As the spear pierced through, thousands of golden petals bloomed in the void. It looked extremely beautiful but contained a fatal danger. These two are only followers of the Emperor. Why did they come to the War God Temple to provoke us? After all, this is not their home ground. What are they trying to do? Anai Shang thought to herself as she watched the battle between Ling Xiao, Tuobayu and Zining. If they want me to follow the Emperor, they should not be so arrogant and despotic. In that case, their real target is not me but Marshal Granduncle Long. Anai Shang seemed to have thought of something. She could not help but tremble and her eyes lit up. If I'm not wrong, I'm afraid that these two people were sent by the Emperor to test Marshal Granduncle Long. After all, Marshal Granduncle Long's combat power is extraordinary, and is not weaker than those ancient monsters. It is reasonable for the Emperor to be wary of him. Anai Shang seemed to have cleared away the endless fog, and finally figured everything out. Chapter 2028. The golden battle spear made a buzzing sound as it pierced through the void. The spear radiance contained a vast amount of holy aura, as though it had the power of heaven and earth. Clang! Ling Xiao's eyes were calm as he threw out a punch. He used the power of the flipping sky seal from the battling heavens skill to suppress it. It was as though a vast mountain was about to overturn the heavens and earth as it collided with the golden battle spear. The golden battle spear was blocked, and it emitted a bright light. It was like a golden dragon that was about to come to life at any moment. It emitted a ferocious aura as it changed its direction, and pierced towards Ling Xiao again. Bang! 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 Ling Xiao's fist was like a dragon, and it was extremely domineering. It collided with the golden battle spear a few times, and caused the golden battle spear to tremble violently. Unparalleled divine power spread along the body of the spear, causing Tuobayu to tremble violently. He could not help but cough up blood as he retreated. Swoosh! Blazing sword radiance bloomed behind Ling Xiao and turned into a sea of swords. The sword radiance was like rain as it poured down like a waterfall. Zining's eyes were cold as she held the purple holy sword in her hand. She was bathing in the rain of swords as she charged towards Ling Xiao from behind. Ling Xiao did not seem to have noticed it at all. His expression was still as calm as ever. He punched Tuobayu, who was in front of him, and pushed him back. Then, when the rain of swords arrived, he leaped into the air and kicked Zining. Boom! Ling Xiao seemed to have transformed into a holy dragon. His speed was extremely fast as he kicked the purple holy sword. The purple holy sword emitted a blazing light as the crisp sound of the sword reverberated in the air. Suddenly, it split into 9 swords in the void and shot towards Ling Xiao's vital points at the same time. Die! Zining's eyes were filled with killing intent. Although Ling Xiao's combat strength was extremely strong and far beyond her imagination, the purple holy sword in her hand was an ancient killing weapon. Now that she was so close to Ling Xiao, she was confident that she could poke a few holes in Ling Xiao's body. Kill! Tuobayu also saw this opportunity and immediately flew towards Ling Xiao. The terrifying energy around him focused on the golden spear in his hand, causing the golden spear to shine brightly. Murderous aura gushed out from the tip of the spear and mysterious symbols flowed. In an instant, the golden spear flew out from Tuobayu's hand and pointed directly at Ling Xiao's heart. Tuobayu threw the golden spear with his strongest power. Even a 9th revolution half-step saint would be penetrated by this spear in a flash. The violent power of the golden spear would grind him into pieces. Not even his bones would remain. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and the golden qi and blood around him gushed out, like golden flames curling around him. Mysterious sound waves spread out, and many runes intertwined, forming a 3-legged, 2-eared cauldron around him. The ancient cauldron was trembling slightly, and it was melodious and mysterious. It seemed to contain a vast world of flames. Flame Emperor Cauldron. Ling Xiao used the heavenly battle skill to evolve the Flame Emperor Cauldron, and the vast Emperor's aura bloomed, causing the void to tremble. The sun and the moon dimmed, and everyone's face turned pale instantly. Rays of sword light slashed on the ancient cauldron, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. However, they were unable to break through Ling Xiao's defense. The golden spear pierced the ancient cauldron, and the spear radiance was blazing. It trembled violently, and in the end it was sent flying. Break! Ling Xiao's eyes were cold, and he shouted softly, "Kacha!" The ancient cauldron suddenly bloomed with boundless light and blazing flames. Then, it swept across the sky and annihilated the countless rays of sword light. Then it slammed heavily on Zining and Tuobayu's bodies. Puff! Puff! Zining and Tuobayu's bodies shook violently, and they were hit by the unparalleled divine power. Blood spurted out from their mouths, and they were sent flying. Their faces were filled with shock. What kind of superpower is this? Tuobayu roared, and his eyes were filled with shock and anger. He had not expected that he and Zining would not be Ling Xiao's match even after joining forces. They had been crushed by Ling Xiao. Although the Emperor Yen cauldron that Ling Xiao had created with the Fighting Heavens skill was not a physical body, it contained a trace of the extreme power of the Emperor Yen cauldron. It was terrifying, as though it could burn the heavens and destroy the earth. It was extremely terrifying. After this blow, even Ling Xiao felt a little weak, as though half of the strength in his body had been sucked out. The Fighting Heavens skill is indeed extraordinary. It can evolve all the skills in the universe, and it is somewhat similar to the infinite divine skill that I once obtained. Ling Xiao was rather emotional. This was the first time he had used the Fighting Heavens skill, and he had not expected its combat strength to be so terrifying. If he had not cultivated the Fighting Heavens skill, he would have had to use the Flipping Sky Seal to defeat Zining and Tuobayu so easily. Martial Uncle Long has won? Ha ha ha. I knew there was no suspense in this battle. Isn't that so? Even Lei Xuanji was not Martial Uncle Long's match. How dare these two sage-to-be act wildly here? I wonder how Martial Uncle Long will deal with them. After all, they are all saints of the 9 Imperial Obelisk. Now that the 9 Imperial Obelisk and the War God Hall are allies on the surface, I'm afraid Martial Uncle Long will let them go, right? Who asked the War God Hall to be so weak? Otherwise they would have been killed for provoking the War God Hall. Many of the War God Hall's disciples discussed spiritedly. Their eyes were filled with excitement. However, when they thought of Zining and Tuobayu's status, they felt a little indignant. After all, they had come to the War God Hall openly and asked Ling Xiao and Nishang to kneel and accept the edict. They had no regard for the dignity of the War God Hall. In their hearts, they should have died 1,000 times. Long Outyan, I have underestimated you. You are indeed very strong. However, the Emperor will not let you off for disobeying the edict. Zining, let's go. Tuobayu's face was extremely pale. After being hit by the Flame Emperor's cauldron, he had suffered serious injuries. He put up a strong front and said to Ling Xiao. After this battle, he understood that even if he and Zining attacked together, they would not be Ling Xiao's match. Since he had achieved his goal, he had the intention to retreat. Long Outyan, you don't know the difference between you and the Emperor. You also don't know what kind of opportunity you have missed. You are on your own now, Zining said coldly to Ling Xiao. Then she prepared to leave with Tuobayu. Did I allow you to leave? Ling Xiao said flatly. His voice rang out behind Tuobayu and Zining. Why, Long Outyan, don't tell me you're trying to make us stay? Tuobayu turned around and said with an ugly expression. You want to leave after flaunting your strength in the War God Hall? Don't you want to leave something behind? Ling Xiao said flatly. His eyes were extremely sharp. What do you want? Tuobayu and Zining's faces turned even uglier. Very simple. Leave your lives behind. Chapter 2029. Rumble. The Golden Fist print traversed hundreds of millions of miles across the void, containing an unparalleled strength. Chaotic chi filled the air, and the divine light was blazing. It was as though there were 3,000 worlds surrounding it, containing a vast force of heaven and earth. Tuobayu and Zining's expression changed. They did not expect Ling Xiao to attack so decisively. Moreover, his attack was incomparably fierce. This punch made them feel as though the entire world was crushing them. Their faces instantly turned pale. Long Outyan, if you dare to touch us, the Emperor will not let you off. Long Outyan, you're dead meat. In this world, in the 4 seas and 8 wastelands, no one can save you. Tuobayu and Zining roared angrily. Their eyes were filled with rage and a tinge of fear that could not be hidden. They could feel the threat of death looming over them. Boom. At this moment of life and death, Tuobayu and Zining began to fight with all their might. Tuobayu's golden armor emitted boundless light. Runes flashed and intertwined to form a mysterious defensive barrier. At the same time, Tuobayu held his golden spear and infused it with all his saint power. He pierced it towards Ling Xiao's fist. Zining, on the other hand, was surrounded by a purple aura. It was as though there were waves of the void rippling out. Around her, an ethereal bounded domain was formed. It was unfathomable. At the same time, she controlled the purple holy sword and pierced towards Ling Xiao's forehead. Meaningless threats, Ling Xiao said calmly. The fist print was even more terrifying. It fell from the 9 heavens like a golden immemorial sacred mountain that was going to kill billions of lives. Gotcha. This was the fist of the heavenly sovereign. Unparalleled fist intent gushed out like endless waves. It directly blasted on the golden war spear and the purple holy sword. Suddenly, a burst of blazing divine light was emitted. The 2 holy treasures were buzzing and trembling. In the end they were directly sent flying. Ling Xiao's fist did not slow down and landed on Tuoba Yu and Zining's bodies. Both of them trembled violently, and their bodies suddenly exploded in the void. Endless blood filled the air, and severed limbs flew everywhere. It was an incomparably brutal scene. Tuoba Yu and Zining were already heavily injured by Ling Xiao's battle-heavenly skill. They were not Ling Xiao's match even when they were at their peak, let alone now that they were heavily injured. They were instantly killed by Ling Xiao's punch. Ling Xiao stood in the air, bathed in the rain of blood. However, his white robes fluttered in the wind, untainted by even a speck of dust. His black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes shone with a divine light. He was like an ancient emperor, his aura soaring to the heavens. Senior Uncle Long killed Tuoba Yu and Zining with one punch. Everyone was stunned. Looking at the scene before them, they felt like they were in a dream. Their bodies started to tremble. They originally thought that Ling Xiao would spare Tuoba Yu and Zining's lives. After all, they were from the Imperial Obelisk and were followers of the Emperor. If they were killed, they would offend both the Imperial Obelisk and the Emperor. Now that the War God Temple was in a precarious situation, it was not suitable for them to make any more powerful enemies. However, they did not expect Ling Xiao to be so unyielding. Those who offended the Temple of War would be killed without mercy. Ling Xiao really did it. Even though they knew that the death of Tuoba Yu and Zining would bring a lot of trouble to the Temple of War, they did not know why, but at that moment, the disciples of the Temple of War felt their blood boiling. Their eyes were filled with fanatical admiration. Fight! 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 The loud voice resounded in the sky above the Temple of War. Vast battle intent intertwined, causing the blood of the disciples of the Temple of War to surge. Their essence, energy, and spirit reached a peak. Kacha. Suddenly, the blood light in the void flashed and mysterious runes spread out. Tuoba Yu and Zining's flesh and blood turned into pieces of broken wood. The void suddenly shattered. Tuoba Yu and Zining's faces were filled with fear. They reappeared in the void and ran frantically towards the void. As they ran, the two of them shouted crazily, "Heavenly Son, save us!" This is the legendary death substitute puppet? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he immediately recognized it. Tuoba Yu and Zining were indeed killed by him with one punch. However, they had the death substitute puppet with them. It could save them from death once. Hence, Tuoba Yu and Zining did not die. However, even if they did not die, they were scared out of their wits by Ling Xiao. Tuoba Yu's face was as pale as a sheet. Zining no longer had her haughty attitude. She was so scared that her face turned pale. Her eyes were filled with fear as she felt the threat of death. So what if you have the death substitute puppet? I just have to kill you one more time. Die. Ling Xiao's eyes were cold and murderous intent rose around him. He had no intention of letting Tuoba Yu and Zining off so easily. Blazing runes rose from his palms, and he used the Fighting Heaven skill to evolve the Flipping Sky Seal. In an instant, it pierced through the sky and headed towards Tuoba Yu and Zining. Rumble. The void suddenly broke apart. Under the supreme power of the Flipping Sky Seal, it was as fragile as a mirror. Even though Tuoba Yu and Zining had escaped into the turbulence of the void, they were still locked down by the Flipping Sky Seal. Tuoba Yu and Zining's eyes were filled with despair. The death substitute puppet had saved them once. However, it could not save them a second time. Just as the Flipping Sky Seal was about to blast them into smithereens, a boundless chaotic mist suddenly surged in the void turbulence. A golden fist print swept across the sky, penetrating hundreds of millions of miles of the void. It was extremely fierce and overbearing, causing the chaotic mist to explode. Boom. The fist landed on the Flipping Sky Seal. The Flipping Sky Seal trembled violently as though it could not withstand such a terrifying force. It exploded with a loud bang. Long Out Yin, how dare you hurt my subordinates? How dare you? A cold voice resounded. A mysterious figure faintly appeared in the void and floated in the chaotic mist. His eyes were extremely cold. It was as though he was the eyes of heaven, looking down on everyone in the world as ants. A mere Taoist body dares to behave atrociously in my War God Hall? In that case, all of you shall stay here. Killing intent surged in Ling Xiao's eyes. He recognized that this figure was probably the legendary Son of Heaven. He was completely enraged. He had not expected the emperor to be so arrogant. He had directly come to the War God Hall to save people. Moreover, he had only sent a Taoist body. If they were really saved by him, it would be a disgrace to the War God Hall. Rumble. Chapter 2030. This is the fighting heaven's skill? It's a pity that such a peerless secret skill is in your hands. Tianzi said indifferently. His voice was ethereal and difficult to capture. This was only his Taoist body. It was shrouded in chaotic qi, and its aura was extremely powerful. The surrounding void vibrated violently. Tianzi was a little surprised to see the Emperor Yen Cauldron flying towards him. Crack. Chaotic lightning appeared around him, and then turned into a blazing thunderbolt that blasted towards the Emperor Flame Cauldron. The thunderbolt contained a destructive power that was extremely terrifying. Tianzi did not want to be entangled with Ling Xiao. After the blow, he waved his sleeve and wanted to take Tuobiyu and Xining away from the War God Hall, and into the depths of the void. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Ling Xiao sneered. The Emperor Yen Cauldron shone brightly. Flames rose and collided with the thunderbolt. There was an explosion of blazing divine light. Ling Xiao leaped up and pushed his arms out. The Emperor Yen Cauldron shone brightly and smashed towards Tianzi, Tuobiyu and Xining. It was as if the heavenly emperor was uprooting the world. Break. Tianzi's eyes flashed sharply as he spat out a word. In an instant he struck out with his palm, which contained a vast power of space. It was as if the entire world was sucked into the palm print as it grabbed towards the Yen Emperor Cauldron and Ling Xiao. The Emperor Yen Cauldron was surrounded by endless flames. When it was hit by Tianzi's palm, it started to tremble violently. It was as if it was going to collapse at any time. There was a continuous buzzing sound. Crack. A crisp sound was heard. A crack appeared on the Yen Emperor Cauldron, and then it suddenly exploded, turning into a blazing storm of divine light that surrounded the emperor. Long Outian, how dare you? Tianzi's voice was suddenly heard. It was filled with boundless killing intent. Boom. At the same time, a black ancient seal flew across the void at an extremely fast speed, heading straight for Tuobiyu and Xining to suppress them. Why wouldn't I dare? Those who offend the War God Hall will be killed without mercy. Ling Xiao said coldly. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. It turned out that when Ling Xiao and Tianzi were fighting, he had asked Thunder Spirit King to use the Flip Sky Seal to attack Tuobiyu and Xining. Although Tianzi's attack power was terrifying, Ling Xiao played along. He broke the Emperor Yen Cauldron and blocked Tianzi with his terrifying power. Then he used the Flipping Sky Seal to kill Tuobiyu and Xining. Tianzi realized Ling Xiao's intention almost instantly. Unfortunately, he was entangled by Ling Xiao and could not escape. He could only watch as the Flipping Sky Seal suppressed Tuobiyu and Xining. Puff. Puff. The Flipping Sky Seal was like an immemorial divine mountain that came crashing down. It contained a vast and unparalleled power fluctuation. Tuobiyu and Xining screamed and instantly exploded into a blood fog in the void. They were killed by the Flipping Sky Seal, and did not even have a corpse left. The Son of Heaven's gaze instantly turned bone-chilling. Ling Xiao had killed Tuobiyu and Xining in front of him. It was like a slap to his face. Tianzi's heart was filled with murderous intent. Very good. Long Outian, I will remember you. The Son of Heaven looked at Ling Xiao deeply. His gaze was extremely cold. In an instant he rushed out from the boundless divine light. Chaotic mist surrounded him, and he disappeared into the chaos. He did not continue to fight but chose to retreat. After all, this was only a Dao body, facing Ling Xiao, who had the Flipping Sky Seal. And this was the home ground of the Warlord Hall. The sages of the Warlord Hall could attack at any time. Hence, the Son of Heaven did not choose to fight with Ling Xiao and retreated. Son of Heaven? He. Ling Xiao sneered. The aura around him slowly retracted. His eyes were flickering and his expression became calm. He could feel that the Emperor's strength was extremely terrifying. His body of Tao was able to break through the Yen Emperor cauldron that he condensed using the fighting heavenly skill. His real body would be even more terrifying. Ling Xiao felt an invisible pressure. He finally understood why Zhou Panlong was so fearful when he saw the Son of Heaven previously. The Son of Heaven was indeed a great enemy. The Son of Heaven ran away without a fight? Many disciples of the Warlord Hall were completely stunned when they saw the scene before them. Then, they became extremely excited, and their eyes were filled with fanatical worship. Ling Xiao killed Tuoba Yu and Xining with the flipping sky seal in front of the Son of Heaven. Even the Son of Heaven ran away without a fight. Instantly, many disciples of the Warlord Hall were extremely shocked. Who was the Son of Heaven? He was the most famous peerless genius in the realm of the gods for the past 10 years. He was known as the son of the Emperor of Heaven, and possessed the bloodline of the Emperor of Heaven. Although he had not become a sage, he already possessed the supreme fighting strength of a sage. His strength was extremely terrifying. No one knew that it was the Son of Heaven's Tao body. However, when they saw the Son of Heaven run away without a fight, their worship of Ling Xiao reached a peak. Martial Granduncle Long, you don't have to kill Tuoba Yu and Xining. I'm afraid that the 9 imperial gates and the Son of Heaven will not let you off easily. Enai Shang walked over, and said with a tinge of worry in her eyes, Senior sister, what's there to be afraid of? I think Martial Granduncle is right. These bastards really think that the Warlord Hall is easy to bully and that they can come and go as they please. We'll teach them a lesson so that they won't dare to look down on the Warlord Hall in the future. Gao Yang sneered. That's right. Martial Granduncle's fighting strength is unparalleled. I'm afraid that even the Son of Heaven is no match for Martial Granduncle. In the era of great battles, we have to fight and seize. There's no way out. Wu Xiong said slowly. You're right. However, Martial Granduncle is too powerful, and I'm afraid that it will attract the attention of some people with ulterior motives. I naturally believe that no one in the younger generation is a match for Martial Granduncle. However, I'm afraid that those shameless old men will secretly make a move. Enai Shang sighed softly. They dare. Gao Yang sneered. If those old men dare to make a move, they'll be openly breaking the unspoken rules. At that time, the various patriarchs of the Warlord Hall will not sit idly by. A bloody battle will be inevitable. I believe that they won't be willing to see such a situation happen. Wu Xiong sneered coldly. You don't have to worry. Why should the Warlord Hall be so overcautious? As for the Chinese and the 9 imperial gates, it doesn't matter if they offend them. If they want to take revenge on me, we'll see if they have the strength to do so. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His expression was very calm, as if he didn't take the Son of Heaven's threat to heart at all. Martial Granduncle, you're really bold. However, in the past 10 years that Martial Granduncle has been in seclusion, the divine world has become increasingly chaotic. Many ancient sky prides have awakened from their seals. Moreover, according to the calculations of many sages, I'm afraid that the Heaven's Choice Convention is about to begin. Enai Shang smiled faintly with a tinge of anticipation in her eyes. Chapter 2031. Oh, what happened in the divine world in the past 10 years? Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as he asked Enai Shang. Ling Zhao's seclusion this time could be said to be the longest seclusion ever since he came to the divine world. Although his cultivation didn't increase much, he comprehended the heavenly battle technique and had a deeper understanding of heaven and earth. Ling Xiao instinctively sensed that there seemed to be some changes in the divine world. It felt like a storm was brewing. Senior Uncle Long, in the past 10 years when you were in seclusion, many mysterious changes happened in the various regions of the divine world. Many legendary prodigies of the ancient times appeared, and some ancient forbidden grounds emitted divine light. Heavenly treasures and the cave dwellings of ancient experts were discovered one after another. The battles between various parties became more and more frequent, and the remnants of the demon race also started to create chaos. Many things have happened in the past 10 years. Enai Shang spoke slowly and told Ling Xiao what had happened in the past 10 years. At the same time, Enai Shang also mentioned the current situation of the battle hall. It had gone from being ignored in the past to being extremely popular now. Countless disciples wanted to join the battle hall. After all, Ling Xiao had already become a minor war god. It was already certain that he would inherit the position of war god. The battle hall was probably going to return to its former glory. Although Lu Wenzheng, Chong He, and Chong Su strictly controlled the number of people who joined the battle hall, they still recruited thousands of disciples in the past 10 years. Every one of them was extremely talented, and they were all Ling Xiao's most fervent admirers. The appearance of ancient prodigies, the strange changes in the ancient forbidden grounds, and the opening of the cave dwellings of experts. I'm afraid all these indicate that the great calamity of the era is about to arrive, Ling Xiao said slowly. His eyes were filled with divine light, and were filled with anticipation. With Ling Xiao's current battle prowess, he could be said to be invincible within the same level. Even if he were to face a true saint, with his various trump cards, he would still be able to put up a fight. Among the 12 immortal holy lands, perhaps only the top saints or even the peerless prodigies who had been sealed since ancient times would be able to put up a fight against him. And these ancient heavenly geniuses were all treated as whetstones by Ling Xiao, sharpening his sword further and further. Only then would he be able to compete with the countless geniuses of the universe in the Heavenly Choice Convention, stepping into a higher realm. The path of an expert was destined to be filled with mountains of corpses and seas of blood. In the era of great battles, only the strongest could step onto the peak and be revered by the world. Martial Granduncle is right. Although we holy sons seem to be strong, we're still far from being able to compare to those ancient geniuses who are at least at the third level of heaven treading. Not to mention competing with the top geniuses in the universe. Gao Yang sighed softly. In the era of great battles, challenges are also opportunities. If you fight, you might die, but if you don't fight, you will definitely die. Rather than living a cowardly life, it is better to die heroically. Wu Xiong's temperament was incomparably resolute, and his voice was filled with a kind of high-spirited fighting spirit. An ancient prodigy at the third level of heaven treading? Since ancient times, how many people had been able to break the limit? They're just one step ahead of us. However, we're the main characters in this life. The stronger the challenge, the more you'll be able to break through your limits, isn't that right? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. His eyes were filled with a strong fighting spirit. After crossing 9 nirvana tribulations, a half-step saint would reach the 9th revolution half-step saint realm. As long as he accumulated enough energy, he would be able to condense a Tao fruit and break through to the supreme saint realm. However, above the 9th revolution half-step saint realm, if he could break through the limit, he would be able to break through to the third level of heaven treading. The so-called 3 levels of heaven treading were the human realm, earth realm, and heaven realm. Breaking through the limit once was the human realm, breaking through the limit twice was the earth realm, and breaking through the limit 3 times was the heaven realm. It was extremely difficult to enter the 3 levels of heaven treading. Only those with great opportunities and great perseverance could break through. Moreover, one would have to experience 9 deaths, and one's life to break through the limit and completely sublimate. However, as long as one entered the 3 levels of heaven treading, it was said that one would have battle strength comparable to a saint realm expert. Even if one wasn't a saint, one would be able to surpass one. Breaking through to the saint realm from the 3 levels of heaven treading was the immortal saint realm, invincible within the same realm. Therefore, many of those ancient prodigies were the main characters of an era. They were naturally unwilling to prove their Tao as 9th revolution half-step saints. They all sought the most perfect Tao by breaking through the barrier of life and death, challenging the limit, and proving their Tao in the most perfect state. Therefore, most of them were peerless geniuses at the 3 levels of heaven treading. Facing a 9th revolution half-step saint realm expert was like a saint realm expert, who could be suppressed with a flip of the hand. Martial Granduncle is right. So what if we're at the 3 levels of heaven treading? As long as we find our own Tao, we can also break through the limit and enter the 3 levels of heaven treading. We'll be known as invincible. And Aishang also smiled faintly. Gao Yang and Wu Xiong both nodded seriously, their eyes filled with anticipation. The 3 of them were the holy sons and holy daughters of the war god temple. the strongest among the hundreds of thousands of disciples. They naturally had their own pride, and didn't think that they were weaker than those ancient prodigies. A true expert didn't give up when facing someone stronger, and even surpassed them in the end. They were all true experts. Very good. As long as you have the heart to fight, you won't be far from the 3 levels of heaven treading. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. As his understanding of heaven and earth deepened, he increasingly felt the profoundness and importance of the Tao of the heart. Anyone who could achieve something in the Tao of the heart must be an extremely terrifying expert. On the contrary, no matter how strong one's cultivation was, if one didn't have enough Tao of the heart to support it, they were nothing more than clay chickens and pottery dogs in Ling Xiao's eyes. Thank you for your teachings, martial granduncle. We'll go back and cultivate in seclusion. When the Heaven's Choice meeting begins, we'll compete with the prodigies of the myriad worlds. Anaishang and the other 2 said seriously. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was lower than theirs, they didn't feel that there was anything wrong with Ling Xiao's tone at all. The deeper they knew Ling Xiao, the more they understood how powerful he was. Although they didn't say it explicitly, Ling Xiao was already the little war god of the War God Temple. The disciples of the War God Temple dispersed, and Ling Xiao also returned to War Mountain. The news of Ling Xiao coming out of seclusion and killing Tuoba Yu and Zining with lightning speed had already spread to War Mountain. The disciples of the War God Temple were in an uproar. With Black Donkey, Fengya, and Huzi as the leaders, they originally planned to leave War Mountain to cheer for Ling Xiao, but they didn't expect Ling Xiao to return to War Mountain. All hail Martial Granduncle Long. Long live Martial Granduncle Long. The War God is invincible. The War God is invincible. The disciples of the War God Temple swarmed towards Ling Xiao. Their eyes were filled with incomparable fanaticism and worship. Their voices were like thunder that shook the clouds and reverberated in all directions. Some of these new disciples of the War God Temple had seen Ling Xiao 10 years ago. Although some hadn't seen Ling Xiao before, they had long heard of his deeds and had become his most fanatical admirers. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.